sounded like Iron Man when you did that in Iron Man 1. Test in 3, 2, 1. Boom, you looking for this? That was Thor when Mjolnir showed up. Boom, you looking for this?
Oh boy. All right. Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of the Project Infinite podcast, the podcast covering the infinite and ever-expanding multiverse of fandom from movies, comics, TV shows. We got you covered. I'm Rob. I'm here as always with Court. And Court, we got another world-famous movie review to do.
Yeah, we got one of the good old-fashioned Marvel movies to do.
Marvel spoiler cast.
Yeah.
For Thor: Love and Thunder.
They should start paying us.
Someone should start paying us.
Yeah, people pay us. We can use the money.
We really could.
Yeah.
It'd be great.
You know what we'd had with a budget?
A bigger room.
Yeah, right. I think that's probably the step one. What else would we do with a budget?
Better chairs?
Yeah.
An actual desk?
What else would we do with a budget? Mugs? Just custom mugs? Maybe that's what we need. Just custom mugs is what's really going to ignite this process.
Yeah. But we are here to give a full review and recap of the latest installment of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I would say what number it was, but I don't even know. So
I'll try to calculate it as we're going.
It's in the 20s.
And then at a random point, probably like 30 minutes into this, I'm just going to yell out the number of what
it's in the 20s. So, but yeah, so Chris Hemsworth is back. Taika Waititi is back.
He's bats?
He's bats.
Somebody in the movie was bats.
He's back both as director and as character.
Characters.
Yes. Tessa Thompson is back, and Natalie Portman returns, which is one of the big hype moments of this movie. And Christian Bale debuts in the MCU as Gore the God Butcher.
A sentence I never thought I would hear in my life.
Really great. So we're going to break that down. But before that, we do have a bit of news, starting with, unfortunately, a lot of just unfortunate passings in the world of media and entertainment. So James Caan has died at 82. Most notable, obviously, as his role as Sonny Corleone in The Godfather, which earned him an Academy Award. Also portrayed Brian Piccolo in Brian's Song, which earned him an Emmy. Just a legend of the business.
Right.
Right. As seems to be happening every week.
Yeah.
We lose kind of a foundational piece of acting from that era. A lot of mobster passings.
Yeah, no.
People from The Godfather, and we're gonna get to another one in a quick second.
Right,
but.
and I mean, his body of work speaks for itself. I mean, just an absolutely phenomenal actor. I was watching like a reel of his after he passed away that was posted, and I was like, this man's just got absolutely insane talent, because for me, obviously being a little younger, my first exposure to him was Elf instead of The Godfather. But once you go back and watch those films, you're like, wow, he really is just like a nuclear talent. So super unfortunate that he passed away. Yeah,
82, it's all good. Good long life. Definitely contributed a lot to film. And then another one, Tony Sirico has died at age 79, most notably for his role as Paulie Walnuts in The Sopranos. One of, we talk about, Game of Thrones and Stranger Things, but before all of that, it was The Sopranos.
Yeah, 100%. Like, if social media was a thing when The Sopranos came out, it would be one of the top, if not the top show week in, week out that was debuting on HBO. And it loses one of its main title characters, like pretty iconic character as well.
Absolutely, yeah. And then the last one from the world of anime is Kazuki Takahashi, who, I mean, not a lot of people will know that name, but what he created, a lot of people do know, and that is the creator of Yu-Gi-Oh! Has tragically died at the age of 60, and that was one of my things when I was in middle school was the Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime.
Right.
Got me into the card game briefly, but just one of those kind of foundational pieces of Saturday morning cartoons and late afternoon weekday cartoons. I'd always come home from school, 3:30, 4 o'clock, and Yu-Gi-Oh! Would be on.
Right.
And that was one of my shows, man. So it's, it sucks. As always, no easy way to transition out of that stuff, but what we can do is transition to some news that we've been waiting for quite some time, and that is related to the Disney Plus Echo show.
Right.
And we can now confirm.
Let me go off, man.
We can now confirm that Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio will both be in the show as...
You can't see it, but I'm real happy right now.
As Kingpin and Daredevil. Charlie Cox obviously coming back as Kingpin.
The greatest... Nope. He's coming back as the greatest Marvel character to ever be created and portrayed.
He'll be, besides Morbius... He'll be
Nope.
He'll be reprising his role as
reprising
Daredevil.
his role.
Reprising in his...
Resupplying his role as Daredevil.
Yeah, so he's back. Obviously, the last time we saw him was Spider-Man No Way Home. And Vincent D'Onofrio will be back as Kingpin. Obviously, the last time we saw him was in Hawkeye. So both these characters have been reintroduced to the MCU. And now we do know that they will be a part of Echo in some capacity. What that capacity is, we don't quite know.
Right.
We have speculation, and there have been rumors. First and foremost, I believe, broken by the Weekly Planet podcast.
Shout out the Weekly Planet. A lot of our inspirations from this podcast come from the Weekly Planet. So if you guys are listening, Weekly Planet, we love you guys.
So saying that Daredevil's apparently little miniature arc is going to revolve around searching for an ally of his, which is
an ally of Alias Investigations.
Yeah, so this is presumed to be Jessica Jones, which assumingly the role would be reprised by Kristen Ritter.
Yeah, I don't have not even a shadow of doubt.
So that could be what Daredevil is up to. Remains to be seen. But we have to remember, when any time things like this happen, this is a show about Echo at the end of the day.
Right. And I mean, the Hawkeye show, I think she was one of the best parts about the Hawkeye show itself. I think she, besides Kate Bishop, because that's just a given that she's the best part, I think Echo might be the other best part about that show. I really liked, especially earlier on in the season. I think it kind of fell off a little bit in the last episode, but early on in the season, and then obviously episode 3 revolving around her. It's probably it was one of my favorite episodes of all the Disney Plus shows up until that point. And it still really is. It's just, her origin story held so much weight. And it was just really beautifully done with her relationship with Kingpin. And obviously now Kingpin, spoilers for Hawkeye, being blinded as well. That's going to kind of play into it. And the other rumor for Kingpin himself is he's starting on his mayoral campaign, and he wants to be the mayor of New York. And I think that possibly could play into the new Spider-Man movie as well.
New Spider-Man movie, it could play into the Daredevil series that we know is coming from Disney Plus. And it's going to be real interesting to see more of Matt Murdock again in the MCU, because we don't really know what his deal is. We don't know where this character is placed. Right,
and I think even moreover on that, we don't know if this is a soft reboot or if these characters are just coming from where they came the last time we've seen them in their respective shows, or where their last appearance was. So that's to be seen. I do think it's going to be... I think there's going to be a little bit of time that's amassed in between, because there has been time. I think the last time we saw Daredevil in his own show was, 2018, and then the blip the snap happened, so we don't know if he was snapped or not. We don't know if Kingpin was snapped or off, or any of the other characters. So it's going to be seen. But regardless, I'm looking forward to this Echo show for Echo. Not for anybody else.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously super interesting. It's a great hook to get people to watch this show. First of all.
That's a really good point. I think people probably were a little skeptical
of the spectacle.
Yeah, of which is Echo, because I mean, the obvious first question was probably, what do I really care about? Like, first of all, who's Echo, and what do I really, why am I even invested in a character named Echo when characters like Thor are running around out there? But I mean, this helps. It does help. Regardless of how you want to look at it, it is going to help with viewership and getting people invested in the story.
Yeah, and it alleviates a lot of concerns that I think people had at the end of the Hawkeye show. Where like, wait, did they just kill Kingpin?
No, absolutely not. You don't bring him back for one episode and kill him
so he'll be back. I think they're obviously going to have a little bit more real estate to work with. I think he's probably going to be, if not the main villain of that series, he'll be kind of like the villain, typical Kingpin stuff. He'll be like the villain working above everybody else.
Well, I mean, Marvel's going to have to ask themselves the question, because obviously we kind of see where this, this cosmic level, and we'll talk about it once we talk about Thor, where this cosmic thing is going.
Right.
But where the street level thing is going, it could be Kingpin is the guy that's on the ground that's, just much like the comics, he's just running amok in New York City, and there's so many characters that are central to New York City. I mean, Spider-Man, where I do see Daredevil possibly popping up back in his movie. I really do hope they do have Kingpin maybe not even be the main villain, but just a villain that just keeps popping up and is just like, just an annoyance the whole time. It would be great.
Yeah, I think that'd be great. And just, it's cool that obviously, I don't think there was, I guess there was some doubt whether or not they were going to do anything with these characters again and the actors portraying them, but it is cool to see that they obviously have already brought back Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio. It appears that they're bringing back Kristen Ritter.
Right.
So
Mike Coulter said he's down. The only one that I don't think I've heard anything from is Finn Jones.
Yeah,
but I don't see why not.
Where is Finn Jones? Put the missing posters out.
But I mean, I'm telling you, they got a nice tee up. Shang-Chi breathed new life, like it gave new life to like the other dimensions of these different places. Like Kunlun can easily be like a place that's like Ta Lo, that's in this different realm that only he can access. And like I think a perfect Shang-Chi 2 plot is like it's like the Battle of the Seven Cities. Like they do the tournament and Shang-Chi's is like, who are you? I'm Danny Rand, and then they punch for a bit and then they're friends.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. Mm-hmm. Speaking of god butchering, before there was Gore the God Butcher, there was another butcher of gods, that being Kratos of Sparta.
Yeah.
So God of War Ragnarok has finally been given a release date, November 9, 2022. So in 4 months. About 4 months from now, that'll be in our hands. It is the sequel, obviously, to the God of War, not even a soft reboot, but God of War 2018.
Mm-hmm. Phenomenal game.
Amazing game of the year.
One-shot game, a one-shot take game, which is just mind-boggling to put your head around.
It really is, yeah. It's really, really awesome. It took that character in a really cool direction from when God of War 3 left off. Mm-hmm. Obviously takes place in the Norse mythology, culminating now in Ragnarok, which is obviously a big story in Norse myths, culminating with the World Serpent combating Thor and Odin being killed and all that stuff. So it seems like it's gonna be pretty crazy. We saw a short little 20-second trailer for God of War Ragnarok, and we saw Kratos and his son Atreus, which spoilers for that game. If you haven't finished it, Atreus is Loki. That's the big plot twist at the end of the game. So you see Kratos and Atreus facing off with a giant wolf, which presumes possibly to be Fenrir.
Right.
So that's going to be really cool. I'm really looking forward to this
Me
game.
too.
It was announced release for 2021, but that realistically was probably never going to happen.
Right.
So now we're getting it at the end of 2022, which 2022/2023 is shaping up to be just a crazy year in the gaming.
So much of my money is going to go to these games, and I mean rightfully so.
Yeah. So we're talking God of War, obviously. We're talking Spider-Man 2, probably is coming next year. Final Fantasy 16 is coming at the middle of next year. Just a bunch of things that are just going to consume probably lots of my time.
Right.
Captain America.
The Captain America.
So we knew a while back, coming off the back of Falcon and Winter Soldier, Marvel was very quick to be like, we're doing Captain America 4, and Anthony Mackie is coming back.
Right.
And that's it. That's all we had for a while.
Yep.
But now we have a director. So Julius Onah, who is famous for the Cloverfield Paradox, which I quite liked.
Yeah, I didn't think it was I think people were really trashing that movie. I was like, this movie is not bad at all. I kind of was enjoying it a bit.
Yeah, I liked it quite a bit. It's not as good as Cloverfield Lane.
No.
I think Cloverfield Lane is really spectacular.
Yeah.
But Cloverfield Paradox is pretty good.
Right.
But he will be directing the Captain America 4 film with Anthony Mackie as Captain America, and good. I'm glad that it's a proper Captain America movie,
right?
Because there has been some wicked backlash over this news, and it's just insane to me.
It's kind of disgusting.
It's
awful.
Really
sad
really
that this is still happening. Like, he's Captain America. These people aren't real. They're not real people. They're characters.
Even down to like the media reporting of it. I thought about the article the headline that I think it was the Hollywood Reporter put out about how, Anthony Mackie is coming back, not reprising his role as Falcon. And I was just like, just say he's Captain America.
It's very simple. It was even to the point where Chris Evans had to intervene and say, he is Captain America. Yeah. And people, to the man that played Captain America, said, no, you're Captain America. Are you guys okay?
Yeah,
it's really
awful.
It is awful.
It's this. We talked about this when we talked about. Well, we didn't get to talk about Falcon and Winter Soldier totally, but we did mention this a bit in Hawkeye. This idea of mental passing,
right?
And how difficult that can be, not just in the comics,
but
in live action, it's even more so.
And moreover, the actual implications on the real world once you take somebody's character.
Falcon and Winter Soldier tackled this issue head on, and now you're seeing this issue play itself out. It's kind of awful how reality imitates art and vice versa. And so far as we're literally through the announcement of this news, which I thought everybody already knew was happening, that we're kind of reliving the arc that Sam underwent in Falcon and Winter Soldier.
In the real world. It's insane.
In the real world, yeah, with Anthony Mackie, which is such a shame because that guy has earned the right to be Captain America. Can 100% lead his own film.
Right.
I don't think Chris Evans needs to be a part of the movie.
Film, no.
And that stance is even further that I don't think Chris Evans will be in it because he's not going to want to.
Yeah, I didn't even... Once we heard about Captain America 4, the first characters I was thinking about, I was like, all right, is Bucky going to be back? I was thinking, is David Harbour going to come back as Red Guard? The first thought I had was not Chris Evans as Captain America. I wasn't thinking about that.
No,
because they already resolved all of that. That's already been taken care of.
Yeah, it's just crazy. So hopefully this thing gets off the ground and does well because the world needs Captain America.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and then we talked about it a little bit last week with the Disney Cruise kind of news that we had, and I think it is interesting where we're going to kind of operate. I had been saying it, and now it kind of feels real now that the world's starting to get the Avengers back. We have Miss Marvel back. We're going to get Captain Marvel back. We have Captain America. We have Ant-Man and the Wasp. The Avengers are starting to reform, and he is the lead. It's looking like he is the leader of these Avengers, which makes sense. So I really am enjoying that, and I can't wait to see it. I think Captain America 4 is going to deal with that a little bit, where the state of having an Avengers team is.
Yeah, so. I mean, having just gotten a director, it's going to be a while. Before we get this movie.
Yeah, but in 2 weeks we're going to get the San Diego Comic-Con panel, which we've been seeing is going to be an absolute mega panel, and whatever they do, they're going to shut down the internet for whatever they do, because we're probably going to get the reveals of so many things. I mean, I already I'm calling it now. We're going to find out who's playing the Fantastic Four. We're just going to get it out of the way. We're going to get news on all the new movies and the new shows. We're going to get a little...
Well, they already talked about how X-Men 97 is going to be featured. The first look at it, we're going to get a proper first look at it. The Marvel Zombies show is going to be shown, and the second season of What If is also going to be shown.
Right.
The actual footage will be shown.
Right.
So that's just a taste of what else, on top of what else they could possibly announce. And I'm with you. I think they are going to ultimately reveal the Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
Is what I think that's gonna be the big kind of end moment.
Yeah.
They always crescendo these things out to reach a certain point.
Right.
So
is John Krasinski walking out?
I don't know.
Me neither. It's starting to get a little. It's starting to get a little less and less for me as time goes on. But I mean, I don't even want to get into it because I guess we'll leave it for whenever the official. Because we've heard rumors of who's playing two out of the 4 characters. So we'll leave that to be seen.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting.
Yeah,
and I think that's a good call. I think that's 100% gonna be revealed on top of updates on all the other films that they're working on, and probably gonna get a good full. We're probably getting the Black Panther trailer.
Yeah, we're gonna get the Black Panther trailer, and then I think we're also gonna get who the big bad is gonna be. And I think Jonathan Majors is gonna be there, and it's gonna be a little bit more fledged, what this is all working up to.
Yeah, I'd agree. The Duffer brothers, fresh off of a very successful...
Very successful is an understatement.
4th season of Stranger Things, have announced that they're opening their own production company.
Yeah. They got the keys.
Yeah,
they got the keys to
Upside
the castle.
Down Studios, I think it's called. Upside Down Productions, something like that. And they're working on a Stranger Things spinoff. And they're
with Erica.
Nope. Not that spinoff.
That would be much funnier.
And they're working on a Death Note series, which is interesting. The acclaimed animated anime
to a not so acclaimed movie.
It's not so acclaimed movie to now being in the hands of the Duffer brothers. So it definitely seems like they're working their way away from the main line Stranger Things,
Right.
which of course, because it's ending, but it's always my concern when these things start happening with these people and they start moving on from their thing. It makes me wonder, like, how much of this are you putting into this last season of this
Right.
thing that you're doing?
Right.
Because we saw this with D&D in Game of Thrones. They had so many other things that they were beginning to work on, and none of which hilariously got off the ground. And the final season of Game of Thrones suffered from that.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see what this means for the final season of Stranger Things. It does seem like that they have a good kind of idea for it. They're setting it entirely in Hawkins. They're bringing it back to the status quo. I think they said that there's not going to be any type of like guest kind of character that appears.
Yeah, it's all down to this is it. This is a business trip they're going on for this last season. Like they got to stay focused.
Yeah. So good for them. They deserve it. They've earned it. They are one of the foundational pieces of what made Netflix original series great. So makes sense. Okay, so this Thor movie came out.
Yeah. So there's this guy named Thor.
Let me tell you the story of Thor Odinson. Definitely maybe the most complete character that we've gotten in the MCU in terms of the things that he's been through and seen and kind of the journey that he's gone on. We've been with Thor now the longest.
Yeah, because I think that's a good point because I was thinking about Steve Rogers. The only thing about him is he's overarchingly, like, he's, like, overbearingly a good guy. Mm-hmm. Like, not that Thor's not, but, like, it's not as dynamic as Thor's, because he's seen so much. He's been the bumbling kid that just doesn't understand adulthood. He's been an Avenger. He's been a Guardian of the Galaxy. Like, he's been so many things that we've seen. That's without, like, the 4,000 and, like...
Yeah.
like, 4,000 and, like, 50 years that, like, it's so much time that he's seen without us.
Yeah.
Even to the point in this movie where we've seen things that we didn't even know happened with him.
Yeah. So, as of today, which we're recording Sunday night, it has made $300 million, which is good. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's a big chunk of change. Right. So, critically, looking just like at the aggregating score, Rotten Tomatoes 68%. Yep. So we're going to talk about.
Yeah, well, yeah.
We're going to talk about this, I guess, off the before we dive into the actual movie itself, and then audience score holding in an 81%, which is pretty good.
That's solid.
So audiences are liking it, but So let's just talk about this.
Somehow this is more divisive than Doctor Strange, which to that point I thought was the singular most divisive Marvel movie.
Yeah, so I mentioned this to you earlier. Just this movie kind of solidified what I've been thinking for quite a while, in that nobody can just agree on anything anymore. Nope. When it comes to fandom movies. Yeah,
the infection has reached the MCU.
Yeah. I think that's exactly what's going on. Like I said, fandom movies, because I don't think there's any question. People think very highly of, say, Top Gun Maverick.
Right.
People think very highly of Everything Everywhere All at Once. It seems to be a uniquely fandom movie thing that, to be honest, probably started with Star Wars when The Force Awakens came out. Is probably when this true divisiveness really started. Right. Because you thought, hey, look, Star Wars fans are crazy. This is a Star Wars kind of just self-contained thing. And then it started reaching out a little more. We started getting it kind of with the DC movies, which, not for nothing, but some of them deserve to be divisively looked at. And then things started happening the other way. We're like, I thought we all agreed that this movie sucked. And then there's like people that are like, no, actually, it's really good. And now it does appear that, there was a little bit of this with Shang-Chi, but not really. No, there was quite a bit of it with Black Widow. Yeah, there was a lot of it with the Eternals.
Yeah, Eternals suffered probably out of the Phase 4. It's probably suffered the most from this.
But I understood that, because that was before we got to Doctor Strange. That was the most kind of really radically different type of thing that the MCU had done. So I can understand the divisiveness. And then we got to Spider-Man 1: No Way Home, which gave us the classic kind of, I think, what people were looking for. And then we talked about Doctor Strange, which did not give us what we were looking
Right.
for or what we were thinking we were going to get. And that caused an uproar. And now Thor, which up until this point, you know, seemed to be nigh untouchable in terms of people enjoying what that character was giving us.
Right.
Whether it was, you know, whatever you think about Thor 1 and Thor 2, you know, people still like that character in those movies. And then you got him in the Avengers films, which people always love Thor in those movies. And then Ragnarok. I mean, I hadn't heard so much negativity around Ragnarok until now.
Right.
Which is odd.
And so much praise for Thor 1.
Yeah.
It's
very
magical.
strange to me. It's very strange.
It's almost as if Thor 1's this, you know, top echelon Marvel movie at this point.
You know, it's not.
It's really
it's
not.
Fine. It's a fine movie for, what year did that come out? 2010?
2011.
2011 that came out. So it's a perfectly fine entry-level superhero movie. It doesn't do anything amazing. I mean, the ending is pretty good with Thor and Loki at the Bifrost Bridge, but
that's a lot of that's Tom Hiddleston kind of carrying too.
Agreed, yeah. And then Thor 2,
the most boring Marvel movie.
yeah. So all of a sudden, people retroactively are disliking Thor Ragnarok, which I don't know where that came from because I thought we all kind of agreed
that it's like one of the better ones.
Great.
Yeah, right.
It's one of my favorite Marvel movies. And then this comes out, and the backlash is even worse.
Yeah,
it seems people are just down to critiquing the VFX, to critiquing the writing choices, to critiquing the timing, and there's things to critique about this movie.
Yeah, I don't love this movie.
We'll talk about it.
I don't love it. I think you like it a lot more than I do.
I do. I really enjoy this movie, but I think our differences are more just style based.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
That's a perfectly fine line to draw.
Yeah.
Is you know, me liking a certain style more than you liking a certain style. Like, and that's fine.
And it's just funny because this is from somebody that didn't love this movie. I did not like this movie, but I didn't love this movie. Saying that and just seeing the discourse online that I disagree with so heavily, it's like they're picking the wrong things that they're looking at to dislike about the movie. That doesn't have anything to do with not major things.
Yeah.
It's the nitpicking of nitpicking right now.
Yeah, and that's where we're at. It's like the hyper just nitpicking of tearing certain things and scenes and character choices and being like, well, this doesn't make sense, yada yada yada. Like they're telling a story. They're telling a story, and we talked about it in our non-spoiler review. They had to tell a story that determinedly started at a certain place, and that's automatically a challenge.
Yep.
It's like it's like you're trying to write a story and someone's already telling you how to start it.
Right.
Despite whatever other things you may want to do with it, you have to start in this spot.
Right.
And that's where we start in this movie, with Thor left with the Guardians of the Galaxy at the end of Avengers Endgame, and now we're doing a Thor movie, and we have to get Thor away from the Guardians of the Galaxy. So I guess we can start there, unless you have any spoilery bits.
No, I mean, I think
about.
I talked about all my non-spoiler stuff in the non-spoiler review. One thing I like about spoiler reviews is like, I don't think we're cynical people. I think that's one of the things I like about what we do is like, I think people focus, and this is from somebody that wants to make movies, people focus a little bit too much on like the nitpick of things that just are things they might not even understand because they've never been in the room to do some of these things. They focus so much on that, but what I like about spoiler reviews is like, let's just talk about like now what's in the universe now, instead of like, was it good, was it bad, this, that, and the other thing. We will talk about it, but let's just talk about what is. Yeah, and I think that's a great point about not knowing what's going on in the room, because I know we all sit through the credits at the end of these Marvel movies. Just how many hands are in. I was reading the names on this one because it was this. By the time we're recording this is the second time I've seen it, and I was like, it takes hundreds upon hundreds of people to do this. Like it's insanity how many people to give you a 120-minute piece of media. Right. You know, it's not easy. You know, at the end of the day, and
people are all of a sudden being like, never let this man, that being Taika Waititi, near another MCU movie. This guy has put out nothing but classics in his short film career so far.
Right.
You know, and even if you want to say that this one is a quote unquote miss, everything else he's done is spectacular. Like, then not even a question. Like, nothing less than stellar is what this guy has put out. So, you know, it's this movie is very uniquely his, and you know, maybe this is the first movie he's done that he kind of indulged a little bit, and maybe that's why it doesn't work for some people. But to say that he shouldn't be doing another MCU movie,
they're like ripping him apart on the internet, and it's fun. It's like, man, just go outside or something. Like, it's gonna be fine.
Yeah, and this guy, you know, gets paid what he gets paid because he's one of the best at what he does.
Yeah,
like, he's not, you know, terribly concerned with the opinions
of other people
on the internet.
Much like James Cameron, which I'm gonna call it now that I think that Avatar movie is gonna have like a little, you know, group of people that really aren't gonna like it for whatever reason that may be,
and have already decided
that will, like it. And that's one of the biggest things that we could talk about real quick, of people deciding what they're gonna like and not gonna like before the movie even comes out.
And it absolutely happens, whether people want to admit it or not. You almost always will walk into something with a preconceived bias. It's just to the degree of what level you decide you want that to let affect you. You know what I mean? Like, we try to stay as clean, as neutral as possible, but we still walk into movies with preconceived notions of what we're hoping to see, what we think we're going to see, and what we already like. You know, going into this movie, liking Ragnarok already, expecting something similar to that, and gauging our reactions based off that notion. Right. Conversely, if you think you're walking into something and you're like, oh, I'm not gonna like this, but I have to watch it because I'm in this 20 some odd piece of media storyline and I can't miss the next thing. Just shut up about it, or admit that you're coming into it with a bias. Right. Like it's what you can't do is criticize something without acknowledging your own biases. And I think that's what a lot of people are doing, is they think they're looking at this thing without any type of lens over it when they had the lens on from the beginning, and they just feel vindicated in a weird way. And that's leading them to just going a little over the top with the criticisms, calling this one of the worst Marvel movies, you know, that have come out. I mean, I can probably give you 5 or 6.
It's the 29th Marvel movie.
Yeah. So 29.
Oh, that's wild.
That is pretty insane. But to say that this is one of the worst ones,
it's kind of comical.
There's just nothing to that.
What are some of the worst ones?
Well, we already talked about Thor: The Dark World. I don't like Iron Man 3. I think it's okay, but it's not great. Let's see, what else can I think of here? I mean, I put Black Widow's not one of the worst ones.
Yeah, but I'd put it lower.
But this is Black Widow's not worse. It's so, I hate saying worse.
Yeah, me too. Because
it makes it seem like that they sucked. When that's nothing could be further from the truth. God, there's been a lot of these movies. I mean, I think I like this better than Age of Ultron.
You do?
Yeah.
Oh, I guess I'm an Age of Ultron apologist. I actually quite like Age of Ultron.
Yeah, I don't like Age of Ultron.
Maybe not the guy that made Age of Ultron.
No, not that guy.
Yeah. Bad guy. Much like Zeus.
Yeah. Much like Zeus. Oh, man. All right, let's talk about this movie. So we talked about the Guardians of the Galaxy sequence a bit in our non-spoiler review, but, man, I mean, it's always nice to see them, but...
Little flat.
Really flat.
Yeah.
Really flat. They felt very hollow, like hollow versions of themselves.
I mean, you could talk about expectations with that. I feel like the expectation is that the first part of this movie was going to be Guardians featuring Thor, when that's just farther from the truth. That, like you said, this was just to get him away from... They just needed to get away from Thor so Thor can start on his path.
Yeah, and that's what this movie... I mean... Upon seeing it a second time, it's probably as good as you can do with it. Right. Like, they're doing a thing, and then Thor shows up and cleans house, kind of doing a good way of showing off that power disparity.
Yeah, and I mean that's important, especially for a movie like this, because there's a reason why he's the Thunder God, and they needed to show that there's there's much difference between the Guardians of the Galaxy and him.
Yeah, I mean, who's the strongest Guardian? Probably Drax.
Which is saying something.
And he's just strong in the sense, he's just a bit stronger than a superhuman. Yeah,
he's probably a bit stronger than Captain America.
Yeah, and that's right. And he's the best one.
Right.
Rocket's super smart. Groot is a strong tree creature thing.
Nebula can fight.
Nebula's a cyborg engineered for combat. She's the Terminator.
Right.
And then you have Peter, who's the brains of the operation with some guns. And then you have Mantis, who doesn't do much.
Yeah. Maybe she's learned to fight in between the time that we haven't seen her.
And what's his name? Sean
Kraglin.
Gunn. Yes. You have Kraglin, who's learning his Yondu powers.
And also learning not to marry everybody that they come across.
So yeah, but before that, we start with Gore.
Yeah, we start with a Gore cold open.
Is how the movie starts. So,
or should I say warm open? Because they were on a desert planet.
Yeah, and he's going through the desert, walking through the desert with his daughter, and things are not good.
No, starts off much like the second volume of the Jason Aaron Thor run, where we kind of get Gore's actual origin, where he's on this planet. It's a planet that's not even named, and he's praying to the sun god for, help to, spare his daughter. His daughter ends up dying, and he meets the sun god, and the sun god's I don't care about you. You're just nothing to me. You're just a
great kind of point of view person to throw at us to justify Gore's position.
Right. Because if they can be as good as Thor, they can be as bad as this sun god. They can be as bad as Zeus. They can be these gods that just think they're omnipotent and just much above everybody else. Yeah. And it shows, and that's a really well done, really great way to start the movie. With Gore, very much he's just pleading at this point, and immediately all of his
and him
beliefs.
saying we did this for you,
right? He's there's gonna be more of you. I don't need you.
And he's there's no eternal life.
Right.
You just die. There's nothing for. What does he say? There's nothing for you after death except death.
Right.
That's it. And Gore's just oh man.
Yeah. However, just lucky enough, they had just killed the holder of the Necro Sword. Would you look at that? Would you look at that?
Wouldn't you know it?
Great timing. So Gore gets influenced by the Necro Sword, much like Dane Whitman's sword, much like the Darkhold. Don't open the Darkhold, kids.
Don't open the Darkhold. Don't pick up the Necro Sword.
Yeah. We'll see with Dane Whitman. If you should put, what's his sword called?
I don't remember.
Me neither.
The dark sword?
The dark sword. Nope, that's not it. The ebony blade.
Ebony blade, that's it.
Yeah, we'll see. Maybe you can pick up the ebony blade for a little bit if you're Kit Harington, but after that, maybe don't pick it up. But yeah, he gets the Necro Sword, or the Necro Sword kind of chooses him. So just a little origin on the Necro Sword. AKA All Black is wielded by the creator of the symbiote, so the symbiote god, who specifically is missing from this movie because of a rights issue with Sony. All Black is kind of like a symbiotic sword, more or less, and it's kind of in the comic, it more wraps around Gore, and he can just pull it out when he needs to. It's pretty cool, but yeah, we see the Necro Sword. It's not linked to Nolan anyway, because they can't use it, but I think it's more of a situation where it's just this sword that has been at the beginning of time.
Just your classic cursed weapon.
Yeah, right. So yeah, he uses it to kill this sun god, and we see gods bleed, and then he gets his vow that all gods must die.
All gods must die, he says. Mm-hmm. And you're uh-oh.
Oh no, Thor's a god.
Oh no,
I love Thor.
He is a god.
Khonshu's a god.
I like to see him scrap with Khonshu.
Yeah. Thor or Gore?
Gore.
Both?
Yeah, both.
Yeah.
And then we get to, obviously, we get to the voiceover that we hear in the trailer of Korg telling the story of Thor Odinson.
Yeah, that's where I did think that they were leading up to the eventual death of Thor. And then I thought about it more, and I was keep Thor alive forever. Keep him alive forever. But yes, so we get a little bit of narration kind of displaying the life of what he's been through as a child. Straight up Frigga just
carrying him in a little baby harness.
Yeah, into battle with like a wooden Mjolnir, and then we see Chris Hemsworth's own son running, transitioning into an older Thor, and then an older Thor, and then the present day Thor. We go about, all the events of, Thor 1 to Thor 2 to Infinity War to Endgame, and then we see him with the Guardians of the Galaxy. We see him get back into shape. He has his little Mr. Incredible montage.
Yeah, he's back.
He's back. Yeah,
back.
We weren't going to keep Fat Thor.
Ripped Hemsworth is back.
Yeah.
he's got the blonde hair is back.
The big muscles, it's
big
all
muscles,
back.
It's all back in full force.
It's him.
But he's
sad.
He's sad.
Yeah.
Sad Thor.
Yeah. This guy can't catch a break.
Nah, man.
Wanda, you lost your kids in Vision. This man, can I go off? Lost his brother. Lost his brother again. And lost his brother again. He lost his mom. He lost his dad. He lost Heimdall. He lost the Warriors 3. He thought he lost Sif.
He lost Asgard.
He lost Asgard at the place. But the Asgard is not a place, it's a people. And then Thanos said, what if there were half the people? So then he killed them physically. And then he killed them again. So that's like 25%.
Percentages.
Yeah.
Fractions.
Yeah.
Half of a half.
Half of a half.
He was, he feels, and maybe rightly so, feels that he was single-handedly responsible for the snap happening, because he didn't kill Thanos.
He didn't go for the head.
He didn't go for the head. And then how did Asgard repay him? Set up a ice cream shop based on the Infinity Gauntlet.
Called Infinity Cones with a Z.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good. I like it.
Yeah. We'll talk about how commercialized New Asgard has become, because I think that's very The Boys-esque.
Yeah.
It's very telling of what would actually probably happen.
Yeah, so, yeah. And he's depressed. He misses Jane. Mm-hmm. And he's just like, you know what? I'm just going to sit up here on this mountain until...
And I'm going to meditate. And the Guardians are like, oh no, Thor, we need your help.
Oh no, the bird people are beating us?
Yeah. They're evil. And then you get a little sense of the plot, because their king says, we had our god, but our god was butchered. And Thor's like,
by Billy Butcher?
Yeah.
Nope.
But
by Bale the Butcher.
But yep, by Bale the Butcher. It's not Christian Bale, it's atheist Bale this time around, he says.
Yeah, so we get a pretty hilarious opening Thor action sequence.
Yeah, little homage to Thunderstrike Thor, the costume that he wears with like the Kurt Russell, what's the movie that I'm thinking of where, I'll remember it at some point, where he wears the tank top. And it's the same thing, yeah. So, again, shows you how powerful Thor is. He's just an absolute tank of a person.
Yeah, but again, my criticism of the criticisms of Thor is saying, like, they turned him into this jokey and he's not, like, powerful.
No.
Watch that opening sequence again.
Yeah.
Because he decimates this entire bird person army.
I mean, watch Infinity War, watch Endgame, watch the end of Ragnarok, and watch this. Like, he truthfully is, like...
the strongest Avenger.
Yeah, he is the strongest Avenger. Yeah. You lost the spot, Hulk.
He's got his big axe.
Yeah, he's got the axe. He's doing calisthenics now, because he can just do a full split.
And hold two machines at bay.
Yeah.
Pretty great.
Yeah, good job, Thor.
And then he rips...
Sets a welcome to the jungle this whole sequence is.
Yep. The music, much like in Ragnarok, the music is really great. And then he destroys the temple. Mm-hmm. And he's like, yes!
Yes!
I did it.
The temple crumbles, and the king's like, Thor, I love you, but I hate you.
He goes, we did it, everybody. Good job. And the Guardians are very, like, visibly like, oh.
Yeah.
Like, this guy, like, we can't have any fun.
Right.
Because it's like the cheat code. It's like having a cheat code in a video game and having Thor in the Guardians of the Galaxy. Like, I think this crew kind of gets off on being, like, underdogs.
Right.
So, like, having Thor on the team is like, man.
This is not fun. This ain't fun.
This ain't fun.
I don't need to use any of the big guns back there.
It's like the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air episode when Will's on the basketball team.
Oh, yeah.
And you're just standing around watching the best player take all the shots.
Much like Will Smith, it was a big smack in the face to the Guardians to do that. Had to do it. I had to. I'm sorry.
So, yeah. And then we transition to Jane Foster.
Right before that, Thor gets gifted some stuff.
Yes.
Some eggs.
Look.
Maybe it's our children brains, as some people have probably surmised from us liking these movies, because that's how some people are. If you like Marvel movies, you're a child.
Look, man, I have been, and always will be a sucker for a screaming goats gag.
Yeah,
and we got a screaming goats gag.
Yeah,
in this.
Yeah. So while that's happening, they're on the ship. Thor's like, "Cool, sorry for destroying your palace." Well, what's this about a god butcher?
The guy calls him the god of destruction.
Yeah. That I will give them. That is very Guardians-esque to just have this random race of people and them just be like, oh, Thor, yeah, oh. Right. But I mean, kind of compare and contrast to the comic. That is something that they did. Like, it happens a lot in the God Butcher comic. Like, it presents this idea that Thor's not just this character that just has a hammer that's an Avenger. Like, he still is a god that people can call upon. Like, and that's what this movie deals with a lot. But then they get back on the ship. They're like, all right, let's just check the distress signals because we're the Guardians of the Galaxy, and it's just thousands.
Thousands, yeah.
And they're just, all of them are... Our gods have been killed. Like, what's going on? Like, in different planets, realms, like, the gods are just being massacred. Yeah, so they're scrolling through, and then...
says.
Yeah, the horror. And then, lo and behold, who do we see? Lady Sif.
Jamie Alexander.
She's back.
Doing her best Wonder Woman cosplay.
So, Jamie Alexander's back. She's on, I forget what planet she's on, but she's there, and she's like, Thor, I need your help, buddy.
If you're out there.
Yeah, if you're out there, Thor, could you come help? Because things ain't looking too good, Chief. And Thor's like, I gotta go help my friend, Guardians, so I can advance this plot. We'll see you guys in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
That's basically what happens.
James Gunn's just in the background like a mom at like a cheerleading competition, like, just arms crossed.
What did you do to my kids?
Yeah, what'd you do to my kid? So the Guardians are...
Yeah, they have the goodbye. You see the goodbye, actually, in the trailer, where he's like, look into the eyes of the ones you love. Mm-hmm. Peter Quill does his classic Peter Quillisms.
You saw
like,
the Guardians music started swelling a little bit. I'm like, ooh, don't get me invested again.
Yeah, he's doing the classic, it's better to have loved and lost than have not loved at all.
Right.
Is basically what he tells Thor.
Right.
And Thor's like, I do miss Jane.
Yeah.
And then he transforms into what I think is the best costume in this movie.
Yeah, with the fur. Yeah.
I think that should be the look.
Just keep it.
The one.
Keep it, yeah.
I think that's the one he should go with going forward. I really like that costume a lot. I like the colorful one.
Yeah.
But I like that one a whole lot.
No, it's good stuff. It is good stuff.
So he takes off with Korg and the goats who scream as the Bifrost whisks them away.
Right. They find Lady Sif, and she's just like, there's a madman on the loose. And he's like, I've dealt with madmen before. I in fact dealt with the Mad Titan.
Not this madman.
Yeah. He's different.
And she's like, I just leave me to die. I want to go to Valhalla. And Thor's like, well, you didn't read the fine print, Sif.
You have to die, Sif. I don't know if you knew that. And she's like, crap. Her arms cut off, too.
Yeah.
By Gore, presumably, but...
Yeah, or one of the shadow monsters, probably.
Right. Which are, admittedly, pretty easy to kill. So I guess she's a little bit out of practice.
Yeah, a lot of those things die in this movie in pretty gruesome ways.
Yeah.
So Thor's like, all right, I got to get back to Asgard. But before he gets back to Asgard, we got to do some catching up with Natalie Portman. She's back.
Yeah.
And she's got cancer.
Sad.
Terrible.
Real sad.
Yeah, we had speculated on this when we were talking about the trailers is if they were holding on to the Jane Foster cancer storyline for the film itself instead of putting that reveal in the trailer. Yes. So it's the straight adaptation where Jane Foster has I almost said obtained cancer. She contracted cancer and she's real. I wouldn't even say she's down on her spirits about it. No,
this plays a little bit into Natalie Portman's character as Jane Foster, like from the inception. Like, she's always one that's a little bit more like run before you walk type. So she's probably looking at this as just like a minor setback that can be, just something she can figure out.
Yeah, which is what she's been doing.
Right.
She gets visited by Darcy. Kat Dennings is back.
She's back.
Yep.
Eric Selvig's back.
Briefly, on a screen,
yeah. On one of the Avengers Endgame screens.
Yeah, I like I did. And what I love, I talked about this in the non-spoiler review, she is the heart of this movie. Mm-hmm. Even everything she says feels supernatural.
Right.
Not supernatural like the TV show. Supernatural is exceedingly natural. Down to like the conversation she has with Darcy where she's like, Darcy's like, you're just trying to rush this so you can get back to work. And she's like, it's just cancer.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? And
she
Darcy's
just brushes it off, yeah.
And Darcy's like, it's stage 4 cancer. She's like,
that we know of.
How many stages?
4 stages, Darcy says.
Yeah.
And then to Jane's, out of that we know of, Jane Foster rebutted.
And you might think that, that's too jokey, but that's how a person with her personality would react to those situations. She's using much like Thor does.
Right.
She's using the humor.
Maybe something she even picked up from Thor, like being with him, like to take it like that.
Yeah, she's masking obviously all that trauma with just humor, because that's how she gets by.
Yeah.
She buries herself in her work, and that's where we see her, is she's trying to figure out, I guess, presumably a cure for her cancer.
Right.
And she's failing, and she gets the idea by looking at one of the Norse books. She picks up one, reads about Mjolnir and how it has these healing properties, and gives the wielder great strength and stamina and great health. So she's like,
Let me go to New Asgard. Scene shift. Star Wars screen
Star
wipe.
wipe.
Star wipe. We're on New Asgard, and it's a commercial. It's a commercial country now. It's basically
Tourist destination.
Yeah, which I mean, that actually kind of makes sense. I actually do kind of agree with that direction, because it makes sense that they would need money. They would probably need revenue right off the bat. So we're like, that thunder god that everybody loves? Like, this is a new place.
And they don't know anything, like, about how to operate on Earth.
Mm-mm.
Even Valkyrie, who is probably the most well-adjusted, doesn't know how to do it, like how to raise a country, because, like, Asgard on its own was its own realm.
Right. With, like, vast amounts of... They were all Asgardians, but now this is more of, like, a melting pot
and none
place.
of them had to really do
anything. No. I mean, the Asgardians are different from, like, Thor and Odin. They're not gods, but, like, they're still, two little G gods. Like, they're still, I think they dealt with it in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I forget the character's name, but the fact that he's just like, I've been on Earth, like, you thought I was here for, like, I've been on Earth for thousands of years just chilling here.
Yeah, so they're just trying to get by. Mm-hmm. It makes sense. It's like a Disney World-esque
right.
kind of tourist destination. Valkyrie's running things. She's not real happy.
No, she said she loves it, but, she probably has her reservation. It's tough.
She's a warrior.
Yeah.
She was never meant to
Much
be...
like Pete Maverick Mitchell. Johnny
Both can
Top
fly.
Gun. Yeah, both can fly.
Yeah, so Valkyrie's, she's doing her duty, but she's not overly thrilled with the idea of doing all the handshakes and the shilling for Old Spice.
Right.
So we get a little bit of... We get the actors. The actors are back.
So, the next cameo in this movie... Matt Damon...
Several cameos in this sequence.
Matt Damon returns as Play Loki. I don't know why this bit works every time.
Because it's just because it's Matt Damon.
And it's ridiculous. It's just because it's just the caliber of actor that
He's
Matt Damon is.
He's punching so far below his weight.
I know, right?
When he doesn't have to.
Right. So Matt Damon's there.
Luke Hemsworth
is there.
The third Hemsworth.
Right. Melissa McCarthy
shows up
as she debuts as Hela.
Play Hela, yep.
Yeah. It's great. I love how invested the people are. Those people are definitely supposed to be the stand-in for, like, the audience of, like, us watching, like, these Marvel movies. Like, you guys are watching a movie about, like, a guy with, like, a magical axe and hammer just fly throughout space.
Yep. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
And then we get the classic kind of tour guide guy showing everyone,
which is Daryl from the one-shots during Civil War that may or may not be real.
Yeah. So
but I think they gotta be, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, why not?
So he's showing everyone Mjolnir, which is still on the very grass.
I love how they do it. Like, they probably had to excavate that entire land, but they couldn't do it with that one chunk of grass. Like, it's great.
Yeah, so it's right where Hela left it, shattered into pieces.
Yeah, because nobody can lift it, even the shards. Yeah,
the shards cannot be lifted, and then...
Unless...
There's one hooded figure that remains... Gee, I wonder who that could be.
Oliver Queen.
It's Jane Foster.
Oh, it's not Oliver Queen. It's Jane Foster.
And the shards start a zzz, a little bit of that. The clouds start swirling, and then we cut away.
Yeah, we don't see her. We don't see her ascension into being the mighty Thor.
Yeah, and then
what we do cut to though is we cut right to we cut back to space. Right, we're with what's Thor trying to do?
He's going. Well, the Sif bit happens
right. After
the Jane Foster stuff. So he's coming back. He's back on Asgard.
Right.
But, well, new Asgard, but you know what I mean.
Well, we cut to Christian Bale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He rises through the ground.
The shadow, so that's something that the Necrosword has so basically, I mean, the whole point was that Gore and Jane Foster are supposed to be like contemporaries for each other because they're both essentially infected and it's killing both of them.
Yeah.
So,
he arrives.
Right, he shows up at New Asgard. He's like, look at this cool sword. I got the shadow monsters on my side.
Shadow monsters attack!
Apparently, which were I think Taika Waititi told all the kids. So all these kids know this is a nepotism movie. So all these kids are the kids of all these actors. Like Christian Bale's kids are in here, Natalie Portman's kids are in here, Taika Waititi's kids are in here.
Chris
who else?
Hemsworth's
Yeah,
which we'll talk about.
right. Yeah, because one of them is a character.
Yes.
They're not just nameless kid or young Thor.
Yeah.
So yeah, he arrives. Thor's just like, don't you remember I'm the Thunder God?
Yeah, Valkyrie shows up.
Right. And this is one thing that the MCU being lived in, and the fact that I love how far we've come with the Thor character. Like, I love how he drops, and like it plays into the whole theme of like the gods versus the humans and how they view him. He drops and people immediately notice that he drops. Like, even though like Valkyrie's king, like he's the Norse god that just dropped down. Like, and even
he's the prince.
Yeah, he is the prince of Asgard. Like, he is of myth and legend. Like, he is a living myth, but he is of legend. Like, the fact that Thor's even in their presence, it's a nice kind of parallel to Thor 1. Like, when they drop in Thor 1, like, they still do worship him like that. Like, he still is their god. So he drops, they're wrecking shop. It's cool. And then he hears a little bit of the whistle that Mjolnir used to make, and he's like, the heck is going on here?
The hammer's whizzing around.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh my god.
Here, boy. Come to me, Mjolnir.
And then he tries to grab it. This is the trailer bit where he goes to grab the hammer, and it flings back, boom, into the hands of this mysterious woman, this blonde woman with a helmet. You're like, who could that be?
Yeah.
Who could it be?
Who knows? Yep. And then, boom.
It's Jane.
It's Jane. Yeah. Thor's like, remember when we dated?
Yep.
And then they go into this movie's a romantic comedy, and we launch into it.
Straight rom-com montage of their life together, narrated by Korg.
Yeah. Jane Fonda. Nope.
I like that joke quite a bit.
Jodie Foster. Nope.
And then we see kind of how their relationship was going and how it deteriorated, culminating with her getting sick of his constant avenging.
And I mean, to his point, she also was, trying to get her life off the ground and her professional life off the ground. It probably was like, he's got to think, I don't have a lot of time with you. If I do, it's going to be a very much of a Peggy and Steve situation where like, you're going to, outgrow me. Like, you are going to be an old woman and I'm still going to look exactly the same. So we gotta figure this thing out. And she was leaving. She was also doing the things. Yep. It's a two-way street. Don't blame this all on Thor.
I'm blaming it on Thor.
I'm not.
And yeah, so she breaks up with him, and they're like, that's how they leave it.
Right, but before that, so it's like a rising and a falling. Like right when they get to the rising of this little montage, Thor's looking at Jane. He's like, man, I love that woman. She's pretty dang cool. And he's looking at Mjolnir, and he tells Mjolnir like, you got to make sure you protect her no matter what. And then you find out that the reason she's able to become the mighty Thor is that the hammer was enchanted with that. He also did what Odin did to an extent and made her like an extension of Thor.
Yeah, which is cool.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I didn't know how they were going to deal with it, but that's a pretty good way to do it.
Yeah, I like that a lot. And then Gore shows up. He's like, hello, Thor. I'm here to murder you.
Yeah.
And take your axe.
Yeah, right. So I'm here to murder you, but also I need that axe. And I'm like, why?
Yeah, we don't know why yet.
Yeah.
So him and Thor, this is their first dust up, first altercation between Gore and Thor. And Gore kind of gets the better of him for a bit.
Yeah. He doesn't know how to operate with Gore just being able to disappear at a moment's notice.
Yeah, Thor's like, ooh, is that the Necro Sword?
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah.
I've read about this. This thing is awesome. I wonder what else Thor just knows about, because he knows about Eternity, he knows about the Necro Sword.
And he's like, oh, okay, that's very sharp.
Yeah.
Thunder God powers activated.
Yeah.
Knocks Gore over a car.
Right.
And he's like, all right. And then Gore looks to his left and he sees Jane. He looks to his right and he sees Valkyrie, and he's like, ooh.
Yeah, let me get out of here.
I'm going to kidnap some kids.
Yeah, I'm going to take all the children. And this is the main emotion. This is the stake of the movie. The children.
The children. Save the children.
Says Anakin Skywalker. Nope.
So Gore takes the kids. And Thor's like, oh, rats, he got away.
Yeah.
And then we cut back to not the next day. I guess it is the next day.
I just wish there was a title card that said the very next day.
So the Asgard's in disarray. Valkyrie, everyone's complaining.
Right, yeah. It's like this big old thing. They're in like the council hall, and then like
Valkyrie, my kids have been taken. She's like, yeah, I know.
I saw it. I was there. I was fighting. And then they get probably my favorite. I don't know why this is my favorite joke of the movie. When like the two Asgardians are arguing, they're like, he said Gore was able to take out half
our soldiers are dead.
And then the guy's like, half our soldiers are always dead. And I was like, man.
Thor is looking at Jane, and he's like, oh man, I love that woman.
And then he just proceeds to look down and he sees Mjolnir, but you know what I love more than that woman? That hammer.
Yeah, so he tries to summon it. Like, he's like, come on.
Mm-hmm.
And then Stormbreaker shows up.
Yeah.
Stormbreaker's like, hey.
Yeah, he's like, hey, Stormbreaker, it was exactly the thing I was looking for. And it's like a big gag throughout the movie. It's to the point where it becomes kind of serious because Stormbreaker, like, kind of sabotages Thor sometimes because it's feeling away.
Well, he sabotages him right after this scene.
Right.
So the Asgardians are in disarray, and then Thor's like, all right, enough.
Yeah, right, and again, this plays into that whole theme, like, the gods versus the people, like... When Thor taught, like, he says, like, as in people listen, like, he is the god amongst these people, and I kind of like how they, like, really played that up in this scene specifically.
Yeah, and he's like, all right, look, I'm gonna get your children back, because I'm meek, man. Stop scrolling on the whiteboard.
Yeah, sorry.
He blasts through the ceiling, going presumably get Gore, and then the Bifrost just kicks him out the window through like a sculpture, and it's Stormbreaker acting crazy.
Right.
And Valkyrie's like, that's it.
Yeah.
All right, everyone out.
We need a plan. And Thor's like, wait, I know one of those kids. And pretty big reveal. You find out that Heimdall has a son.
Yeah, Astrid.
Yeah.
Astrid, don't call me Astrid.
Yeah.
Call me Axel.
Because Axl Rose is the GOAT.
Yeah. So they do the thing from Ragnarok where Heimdall's son can bring Thor to them.
Yeah, he can, like, project him to wherever he is, yeah.
Yep.
So, no, it's, Thor kind of riles up the kid. He kind of, trying to calm them down a bit and be like, look at you kids. You guys got this.
And then he's like, well, if you die, you go to Valhalla. And they're like, go away, Thor.
Do you mind if we just don't die? Is that okay with you?
And then he goes, I know where you are. You're in the Shadow Realm. Mm-hmm. Comes back and he's like, I know where they are. Yeah. They're in the Shadow Realm.
And then Jane proceeds to just say, what did she say? If it's color we need,
then let's bring the rainbow.
Yeah. I was like, what?
But I get it. Because we talked about this, I think, in a non-spoiler review, where she, like, that Kamala Khan, like, wants to be a hero, because she just got powers.
Right.
She's dying.
Right.
So she's like, this is great.
This is the archetype that I think that the heroes do, so I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, because that's what heroes do. Mm-hmm. And then she flies back through, and she's like, well, jump the gun. I don't know where I'm going.
Yeah. Right. So they're like, oh, crap. Well, we're not going to take Stormbreaker because Stormbreaker is just emotional right now, so Stormbreaker can throw us out in the middle of space if it wants to. We're going to need, like... And then Jane Foster does their science stuff because she's still a genius. She's just like, well, Stormbreaker just needs a conduit to get there. Cue the Screaming Goats. So they get one of the cool boats, the Screaming Goats leading it, but they got a plan. They're like, well... Valkyrie makes a great point. She's just like, well, we can't just go to the Shadow Realm because...
that's where he's going to be most powerful.
Right. And then... Thor's like, well, we could use some help. I'm putting together a team. It's back. I'm putting together a team.
Yep. And we're going to go to Omnipotent City. And we're going to talk to Zeus. And we're going to recruit the gods.
Yeah.
All the gods.
All the gods. Every god you've thought of. And Korg's like, hey, I got a god. You mind if he
Is the Chrono God going to be there?
Yeah. Mini Adenati. And guess what?
He's there.
He was there. So they go to Omnipotent City. They're having a great time.
You know who's not having a great time? The kids in the cage.
Yeah, because Gore is just scaring the crap out of them.
Just great Christian Bale stuff.
And again, I love the way they set it up because Axel's kind of telling them like how just Thor's feats and like why he is like the god of Asgard, like why he is the thunder god and the god of Asgard. Like he's telling like he was able to kill Hela after she broke his hammer. He still was able to kill Hela.
He forged Stormbreaker.
You're right. And then he cut off Thanos' head, like the being that caused half of you guys to disappear 5 years or 6 years ago or however long.
Christian Bale is like, oh, that's so wonderful.
Yeah. Oh, he's good.
But he's not coming to save you because gods suck.
Yeah. Right.
Look, we ripped the snake's head off.
Yeah. In front of the kids. They were children. Come on, man. If you didn't know he was the villain.
And Axel's like, Thor's coming to help us. And he's like, why do you think you're here?
Right, yeah. Like, I'm counting on that.
This is classic villain trap.
Yeah.
Hello.
Don't you have, like, omnipotent sight, Axel? You're pretty stupid for a kid that's supposed to see all.
Speaking of omnipotence, they get to Omnipotent City.
Yeah.
And Thor's like, all right, this is...
Thor's like, he's hyped.
Yeah, because Zeus is, like, his hero.
Right, yeah. He's like, I base a lot of my stuff off of Zeus.
Jane's workshopping catchphrases.
Yeah. And then, because this is a romantic comedy at its core, they're like, Jane's like, got a girlfriend?
Yeah.
I was like, I love that little bit where they're just walking, Thor's like, yeah. Just out of nowhere. It's, oh, man. It's good stuff.
And then, Jane's like, I'm going to go look around. Zip.
Yep.
Valkyrie's like, what's
going on?
What's going on between you two?
Yeah.
And he's like,
what?
Nothing.
Nah.
I like the romantic comedy kind of tropes in this.
Right.
So they get to Omnipotent City, and then they look at all the gods, all the greats. All the greats are there, including the dumpling god, which I really like. They sit down, and then enter Russell Crowe as Zeus.
Is he the scene stealer in this movie?
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh.
He comes in, he's wielding a Greek accent. Mm-hmm. Classic Greek accent, I guess. And he's
Methinks.
He's like, yes, I am Zeus.
Yeah.
He's a showman.
You're right.
It's classic. Like I alluded to Robert Baratheon in Game of Thrones. It's very like, this is a guy whose legend does not at all precede him.
Right.
Like Thor is hyped up on the idea of Zeus, like this great god, this all powerful being, can slay anyone, and he's just a depraved
recluse that just is stuck in the city, and it plays in I think it helps.
Who just he's like sex, drugs, and booze.
Yeah, and I think it helps Thor see Gore's argument a little bit more and try to understand him a little bit more. Like, he's not wrong, like, but it's like, for Gore, it's more of an all or nothing thing, because he is the villain. Like, Thor sees it's like, there are still some good, like me, like, I'm still just somebody that wants to help people. Yeah. And like, that plays later in the movie where he tells Jane that, like, before I was just a child, like, he tells her, like, I didn't have my powers when you met me for the first time. You got me my powers back.
Yeah,
and
remember when I got my ass kicked by the Destroyer?
Yeah, the Destroyer. Yeah, just remember, Thor 1's a good movie. It's a great movie to some people.
So yeah, Zeus he's holding court. He's like, we got to talk about the orgy.
Right. Yeah. Just nothing of value.
Yeah.
You just tell they're just there just to, seclude themselves from the actual helping of people.
Yeah. What does he say? Who won the contest for most human souls sacrificed?
Yeah, and then they all look at each other like,
Thor's like, all right, maybe he sucks.
Yeah, maybe he's not great.
And then we're like, all right.
Never meet your heroes.
Yeah, we're chatting, and Zeus is like, hey.
Who is ducking? And Korg goes... Korg's like, they are. He's like, Korg, what the heck, man?
Korg immediately rats them out.
Yeah.
He's like, you there, take the stage. I can't hear where you're talking from. And Thor's like, all right, look.
Thor's like, what stage? And he's just like, the platform that's right in front of me.
And Thor's like, Zeus, come on. The god butcher's out there killing gods. Mm-hmm. We need to stop him. And Zeus is like,
Nobody cares about these low-level gods
he killed a few low-level gods. He can't get to Omnipotent City.
He doesn't know where it is.
It doesn't matter.
But you know where it is.
Well, before that, he's like, he's never going to reach eternity. And
Valkyrie,
a hush comes over the crowd.
Yeah. And Valkyrie's like, oh, crap. I read a comic before.
And Jane's like, what's eternity? And Valkyrie's like, let me exposition on you real quick.
Yeah.
So basically, eternity is a being at the center of the universe, and whoever reaches eternity gets granted whatever they want. Mm-hmm. And Valkyrie rightly goes, what do you think a guy called the God Butcher would wish for?
A butcher knife. William Butcher.
And then, boy. And Thor's like, come on, Zeus, help.
And then Zeus walks down and
Zeus goes, all right, that's it.
Yeah.
Your clothes are off.
Yeah, because people need to see this.
We need to show that Chris Hemsworth worked out for this movie.
Yeah.
Cue fainting women.
Right.
And then Zeus drops down and he's like, all right, I'll love with you.
Yeah, he's just talking to him. He's like, man, I know.
This guy is scary. But he can't reach us here. Right.
He's got the necrosword, like he can actually kill us this time.
Yeah, but you're safe here.
Yeah.
We're all safe here.
Right.
So just relax.
He's like, and then moreover, like, even more than Gore just being able to kill them, it's like, what about the actual people that need you guys? You guys are just sitting up here.
And Zeus is like,
yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
As long as we don't die, it's fine.
Yeah, the universe keeps going.
And Thor's like, you suck, man. And Zeus is like, well, guess what? You can't leave because only gods know where Omnipotent City is, and you're a god, so you can't leave.
Right.
And then Thor's like, look, can I just borrow your...
He goes, look, there hasn't been a second action sequence yet.
So let me borrow the Thunderbolt. And then Zeus does this whole flashy, throwing the lightning bolt around.
Before that, the way he walked down, he does the runway strut down. Comedy.
Yeah.
Russell Crowe killed that.
He throws the lightning bolt around, and then he's like, no.
No, yeah. Valkyrie's like, I'm gonna start killing people, and can you let us free? Thor's
Yeah.
like, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so action sequence is on. They're just fighting these weird Roman soldier looking people, and then Zeus is like, that's it.
Yeah.
Throws a lightning bolt straight through Korg's chest.
R.I.P. Korg.
For about
12 seconds.
about 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And then he's like,
Cronins can't die.
we don't get to that. Thor's angry about the death of his friend, and he's like, Zeus! And he's like, you're next, Odinson.
Right.
Flings the lightning bolt at Thor. Thor catches it, infuses it with his own lightning, flings it straight through Zeus's chest, and kills him.
Right. And I was sitting, the first time I saw it, I was like, did he just seriously... And then again, going further, like, I was like, I don't think Hercules is going to be too mad. I was like, who's not here out of all these gods? Hercules isn't here out of all these gods.
Yeah.
Henry Cavill should play Hercules.
So he throws a lightning bolt through Zeus's chest, and then it's on.
Yeah.
Korg's alright. His head survives, so he's fine.
Yeah, he calls for the goats.
The screaming goats, are back, and they escape with Zeus's thunderbolt.
With the help of Guns N' Roses.
And they're gone. They leave, and they're like, well, that could have gone better.
Yeah, and they're like, once they're on the boat again, they're like, well, pretty much every god in the universe is probably going to come looking for us, but we're on to Gore. We got the lightning bolt, we got the hammer, we got Jane, we've got booze. We're having a great time.
Yep.
He projects to the kids again.
Updates them on the situation.
Right, and they're starting to feel more hopeful. And on the second watch, I really, like I keep saying, like I really do get the feelings really well done of like, he is like this legend to them. Like the legend keeps growing of Thor. And like, I even more over to the line, he says like another classic Thor adventure. And I mean, to get off topic a little bit and talk about the broader like MCU, like all these OG characters, that's what these are going to start feeling like. They're going to just feel like classic adventures versus like, this needs to happen and they could die at the end. Like they're just going to feel like adventures more or less of what keeps happening.
Yeah. So he's like, look, we're on our way. Just hang in there.
Yeah.
Team Kids in a Cage.
Team Kids in a Cage. We got the Avengers, we got the Revengers, we got Team Kids in a Cage.
Yeah. And then he comes back and he goes to talk to his ex.
He talks to his ex and then he talks to his ex.
Very good.
I'm not a rapper.
That was excellent. So he's like, look, don't worry about Mjolnir. Like, you're my guy.
Yeah, look at you. We killed Thanos. That was pretty awesome.
I forged you from the heart of a dying star.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Yeah, that was cool.
And then Jane comes out, and this is the reconciliation moment that all great romantic comedies have. You have the makeup, the breakup, and then the remake-up. And that's what we get here. Thor's like, look, Star-Lord gave me some great advice. Better to have loved and lost than not loved at all. But in Star-Lord speak, it's feeling shitty. Better to feel shitty than not feel anything at all. And he's like, Jane, I want to be with you forever. And Jane's like, I have cancer.
And she's like, what? Why would I say that?
And she's like, no. What's cancer? And again, it's a very natural... She's great in this movie.
No,
I can't stress that enough. She's really, really good in this movie. And she's like, I don't know why I said that.
Right.
And Thor's like, Jane, like, I'm sorry. And Jane's like, don't.
Yeah, because she says it earlier. It's a nice setup. She's just like, people act different when you tell them. Yeah. So I was never going to tell you. And then it pulls from the comic, same thing. The very thing that's kind of saving her life is killing her at the same time. Every time she turns into Mighty Thor, like, the chemo itself, like, it's essentially getting, like, burned out of her because the lightning inside of her is kind of, like, straight up just taking it out of effect. So, yeah, they have a nice little heart-to-heart. Thor's like, well, what do you want to do? And Jane's like, I want to save those kids. Like, that's what I want to do. I want to finish this mission. They have a big kiss. And Korg is singing. Korg is singing his Cronin mating ritual song. Yeah. That his dad and his other dad sang when they created him. He asked Valkyrie about her love life, and she's like, it sucks. Yeah, it sucks. And he's like, so that's why you're drunk all the time? And she's like, yeah. Yep. I love how truthful she is in this movie. She never lies about anything. She doesn't beat around the bush, because she already did all that in Ragnarok. That's what I do enjoy. And then kind of a somber moment when Korg's like, do you think that they're going to have their own mating ritual and have Thor babies? And Valkyrie goes, unfortunately, sadly, no. Yeah, and then he says... Thor would make a great dad. Hold on to that. Yeah. So we arrive at the Shadow Realm, the little moon. It's thing. On. The goats crash into the moon. Right. The moon's much more. The moon's like just comically small. This moon is much closer than it appears. Like you running to the store is probably the length of this moon. And then this is the tonal shift. So I talked about this tonal shift in the non-spoiler review. This is the tonal shift. A figurative and literal tone shift. The color
this bombastic, colorful movie is sapped from the very screen that you're watching it on. We transition to a straight black and white palette sequence. I freaking loved everything about this. This is why this movie honestly is so good to me, is this back half of the movie is so good, starting with this sequence in the Shadow Realm. I loved it. So they get there, they're exploring a bit. Jane sees some drawings, she sees the Gates of Eternity, and she sees Stormbreaker.
Yeah.
And the kids are not there. The cage is there, the kids are gone.
Right.
And Jane's looking at these things, she's just like, oh god. There's also, just talking film shot for a second, the lighting, where when she lights up her hammer, when Valkyrie uses the lightning bolt, that's the only bit of color. When Thor lights up his eyes,
right,
that's
colors
color.
back. Yeah, the Mjolnir, that's the first thing she uses Mjolnir as like a flashlight, and then brings a little bit of color back to her. But she immediately sees that, takes Stormbreaker, just throws it
into space,
right, as far away as it can go.
And Thor's like,
you mind?
And she's like, he needs the axe.
Yeah, he needs the axe. So yeah, he shows up, just he pulls a Vecna, just ties all of them with the vines up.
Yeah.
And oh man. Call the axe. He's like, I'm good.
I'll call the axe when you call a dentist.
The crowd proceeded to laugh.
Yeah, it's a good joke.
Yeah.
That's a well-timed joke. I enjoyed that one.
But then it's once he starts getting personal with all three of them, he goes to Valkyrie, he's just like, wow, you're really following this guy, and you're following the gods. Meanwhile, his sister killed the love of your life and all of your warriors with you, and you're still gonna follow these gods after all of that.
And Odin knew. On top.
Odin's just a horrible. I imagine Odin like before he had Thor was much like Zeus. Like
there's that bit where Thor goes, "We're gonna come back with the children, and then we're gonna feast."
Yeah,
not on the children. That was a dark time. We don't do that anymore.
That was a good bit.
But yeah, so Gore's basically psychoanalyzing everybody because he tells Thor like, so you met the gods, did you? And look at you.
Yeah, they sucked, right?
And Thor's like,
yeah, maybe.
Gore's like, you and I aren't so different.
And Valkyrie's like, yeah, you
You're
are.
Thor, I'm Gore.
Right.
Thor,
names rhyme. Yeah.
You have a magic axe, I have a magic sword.
Right.
Your eyes glow blue, my eyes glow yellow.
I have a daughter. You have a daughter in real life. That's the same person. Look at all these similarities, my friend.
And then Valkyrie's like, he's nothing like you. And
Gore's like,
huh? What?
Gore looks over. He's like, I know. I don't think. I know
that who I think it is.
Proceeds to walk over and said, "Wow, this is." He looks at her like disappointed, like, "Wow, you really don't see
something.
it. You're something. You really don't see it."
Goodbye.
Yeah,
you are the weakest link.
Yeah,
Goodbye.
banishes her.
Then he goes to Jane and he's like, "Now you." You're interested.
Right, and like I said, they have the best compare and contrast from villain to hero, because she essentially is infected just like Gore is. Gore is being infected by the Necrosword, and he's dying, and he says,
like, "You're dying.
We're much alike."
And he's like, "But look, like, you have these powers, but you're just being used up.
By the gods. By the gods."
Yeah. It's really, they're both, Natalie Portman and Christian Bale are really good. They're the two standouts for me in this movie.
It is Russell Crowe. Expressly for me.
And goodbye. Goodbye, you're gone. And then he's like, all right, you give it.
Yeah, give me get the axe right now. And it's the villain. He pulls the arrow season 2. Choose.
Yeah, he's like, I'm gonna kill one of these two. And he's like, but I know you love her, so I'm gonna kill her, basically. if you don't get the axe right now, get the axe, just give it. And Thor, obviously will do anything to protect Jane, calls the axe, cue Thor v Gore, round 2. And
fight.
This is my favorite fight scene in the movie.
I told you the second time when we walked out, that felt like a comic book. Like, that felt like I was reading a comic book, that fight. Just the framing, the movement like the score itself. Michael Giacchino did score this movie. That man is he's working overtime.
Yeah, the score is tremendous. It's very tense. That score is very tremendous.
Yeah, it's tense.
Very tense.
Yeah. It's a tense sequence because you don't know what's going to happen in this time, because from my perspective, like,
the Jedi are evil.
Well, from my perspective, the gods are evil. Then you are lost, Thor says to Gore. But yeah, it's a great fight. The shadow monsters are back. Thor,
fighting Jane and Valkyrie,
right.
while Thor and Gore are going at it.
Right. And I mean, it still does show you like just how powerful Thor himself is, because he doesn't even have Stormbreaker and he's doing this to him. Like,
well, he gets Stormbreaker now,
right?
And there's that moment when they clash Stormbreaker and the Necro Sword, and there's like a anime shockwave,
right.
that goes across the whole moon when they clash, and then we got a fight. Jane, there's some stuff going on with Jane. Where, like, she's weakening,
right?
And Valkyrie gets involved in the fight with Gore. Valkyrie gets stabbed in the back.
Right.
And you think it's curtains for Valkyrie? Nah.
Yeah.
She's hurt.
Yeah.
She's all right. But that's the conduit for being like, we gotta go.
Yeah.
Like, this guy is gonna kill us. Right. Basically.
Right. And so she gets Thor. Calls
the Bifrost.
Right. Just what he wanted.
Gotcha.
Pops up out of one of the shadows and takes the sword, takes the axe from him.
Yep.
And yeah, Gore's got the axe. He's got the kids. All hope seems lost, and even moreover, that's not enough of a gut punch. Jane reverts back to, or Mighty Thor reverts back to Jane, and she's not doing well.
No,
and
she's dying.
She gets hit with I don't even want to spoil The Boys. I almost spoiled The Boys season 3, but basically she's got one more time to turn into Thor. It's it. It's
and
curtains.
That's it. Yeah. She's gonna die, and Thor visits her in the hospital bed, and he's like, "I need you to live."
Yeah.
So I'm gonna.
You're like the only thing I got left.
Yeah. So I'm gonna fight Gore. I'm gonna get the kids back, and you just stay right here, Jane. And Jane's like, well, what? Like, why?
Yeah. Like, what's the line she used? She's just like, that's something to say for like the god that doesn't.
Well, she goes because the line that he says to her is, not bad, not something for a Thor. And then she goes, that sounds like a Thor who doesn't have cancer.
Right.
Like, what good am I doing here? So I can just this?
Right.
Like, this is all I have when I could be out there, like,
fighting for something.
Yeah. And because, she's like, I'm on borrowed time, basically, anyway. And Thor's like, but I need you here, and I need you alive. And Jane's like, I don't want to live. This is not how I want to live.
Yeah.
I'd rather, give my life saving these kids.
Let's go save those kids. And he's like, no.
She's like, what happened to, like, live like there's no tomorrow, like one last adventure? And Thor's like, that's before I actually knew that you wouldn't have tomorrow.
Right.
And then, Jane relents and she's like, all right, but you better come back to me.
Come back to me.
Thor's like, yep, sure.
Thor takes the lightning bolt, or the thunderbolt from Valkyrie. Valkyrie goes, you know where to go. It's right past. She gives him directions. I love space directions in the MCU. It's absolutely comedy every time you see it. It's like, don't go past that cluster of asteroids. I know where to go.
Yeah.
I know where I'm going.
So it's big showdown time. Gore's there with the children. He plants Stormbreaker in the ground in front of the Gates of Eternity, opens the Bifrost.
I got questions. How is he able to summon the Bifrost? Because movie tension? I
think the axe can just do it. I don't think it's something.
That's a horrible security hack.
I don't think Thor is the one that does it. I think the axe can do it.
That's just weird because, like, I understand Axel being able to do it because Heimdall has a connection to, like, being, omnipresent at all points in the universe. Like, that makes sense. But, like, I don't like the fact that just anybody can pick that hammer up. Like, I can just go to Wawa right now.
Well, yeah, anyone can wield the axe.
Yeah, I probably can't. The axe is pretty dang heavy for like a non-human. Never for a human, but I guess.
Yeah, and so he opens the Bifrost and the gate's opening, and then Thor arrives because they have this weird like thing where a statue falls.
Yeah, like a celestial head statue falls, and Thor's like, "Ex Machina Thor time! I'm here.
I've arrived."
Yeah,
and then
he's like, "I'm gonna need some help." Yeah. I didn't get the God team, but I got the Kids in the Cage team.
Kids in the Cage. Team Kids in the Cage. He's like, all right, how many of you ever fought? They're like, nobody. He's like, well, you're Asgardian kids, so you can fight.
Yeah, and one kid's like, nope.
And then everyone, like, a bunch of other kids are like, well, I'm this kind of kid.
Yeah.
I'm this kind of kid. And Thor's like,
get annoying. So
he goes, and this is where we, again, see the true power of Thor.
Mm-hmm.
He whispers into the lightning bolt, and he's like, if, yada yada, help these kids
for a limited time only.
If they be true of heart, and
they only have a month. They only have the free month subscription to
and
this.
If they wish to get home and are true of heart, imbue them with the power of Thor, and they all get lightning powers.
Mm-hmm.
They all get presumably heightened strength and speed and combat prowess.
Mm-hmm.
All the great perks of being Thor,
mm-hmm.
and that's his group. because you got to have a big group fight.
Yeah.
With your big one-on-one fight.
Yeah. All the kids of the actors and director of this movie are there just having a ball.
Yeah. So they're all
It's
fighting.
fun. Stop being so mad, people.
This is fine.
It's fun.
It's fine.
It's a fun little romp.
Yeah. You needed some type of, because Gore obviously has the shadow monsters.
Yeah.
So you need some type of group.
Right. Not everything has to be the end of Infinity War, just this dark thing.
Yeah, and it's cool that
It is.
he imbues all these Asgardian kids with his powers.
Yeah, it just adds to, like, the feats, like you said, like, how truly strong this Thor is.
Yeah.
So,
And then we get Gore v. Thor, round 3.
Thor's, yeah, they're fighting, they're punching each other a bit, and it's the last of the wits. Thor's dead to rights.
Yep, and Jane is back in the hospital, kind of feeling that Thor's taking a pummeling.
Right. Well, I mean, Mjolnir is the one that kind of wakes her up, because Mjolnir still has the connection
and
to
it's
Thor.
like shaking.
Right.
It's like vibrating. And she looks at the hammer and she's like, next time, baby.
Yeah. Nope, this time, baby.
So,
she shows up at the gates of eternity to help
Gore's
Thor.
about to plunge the necro sword into Thor's chest. And then
The look that he gives her is so, you could feel it. He's just like, you're gonna die now. Like,
yeah. It's the look that Tony gave Doctor Strange after he gave Thanos the time stone. Why'd you do that? And Jane kind of gives him the same look, like, I know what this means.
Right, but we gotta save these kids. Like this, we're doing, like, what I taught you to do in Thor 1, we're doing that. We have to do it. Gotta get these kids out of here. We gotta stop the gates of eternity.
Yeah, so Thor tries to break Stormbreaker out of the grips of the shadow monsters, and Jane is fighting Gore, and then he frees Stormbreaker eventually. Jane is taking and giving and taking some punches, and Gore's like, you'll never stop me this time, Lady Thor, and she's like, all right, that's it.
Launches into her hero monologue,
which is fine.
Right.
I liked it.
Yeah.
People might think it's corny, but it's supposed.
Oh, they're probably gonna rip.
to be.
They're probably gonna rip that to
This
shreds.
is supposed to be corny. It's
we talked about. That's the thing. Like, she
wants to
forging
be a
herself
hero.
as a hero. Yeah.
She wants to be a hero, and she's like, first off, my name is Mighty Thor. She throws the hammer, he deflects it, she gets it back, and she's like, or you can call me Dr. Jane Foster. Slams the ground, does the Steve Rogers slam the ground with the lightning.
Eat my hammer.
Eat my hammer, and she jumps, lunges, clashes with Gore. Thor grabs Stormbreaker, throws it back to Axel. He's like, get out of here.
Yeah.
And then, we get to the final sequence where
They break Stormbreaker. Or, sorry, they break the Necro Sword is broken. It's
Jane throws the hammer as Thor holding it in place, destroys the sword. But as the hammer comes back, the pieces of Mjolnir combine with the shards of the Necro Sword, so Gore can reassemble the Necro Sword.
right.
That's which now it's a catch-22. Gore's either reassembles the Necro Sword or Jane surrenders her powers,
Right.
and thus surrenders her life.
Right.
And that's the decision that she makes. She shatters the hammer and loses her powers, and she starts to fade. She starts dying, and she's like, I'm fine, go stop him.
Right.
And then we cue to the Chamber of Eternity.
Yeah, so the Stormbreaker did the job, even though he didn't want it to. The chamber's open. Gore's going in there, but he's dying, but he still has time to make one last wish. And,
He had one wish.
Yeah. Thor pulls up. Thor's like, hey, man, you're about to kill me, aren't you? And
Could you not?
yeah, could you maybe not? And Gore's like, absolutely not. And then Thor's like, you know what? Go ahead. I'm going to go be with Jane. And Gore's like, what? And he's like, no, I'm going to go be with Jane. You're not going to try to stop me? He's like, no.
Yeah, he's like, if I'm going to have my last moments, I don't want it to be with you.
And he tells Gore, like, you need to, he's like, you don't need to kill the gods. You just need some love. That's all you need. And Gore sees just like, I had a daughter. I loved her.
And Thor's like, you could bring
her back,
with
or you
your
could
wish.
kill all of us. Yeah.
And then, Gore thinks about it, and he's like, I could bring her back. And then he's like, but then he goes, but I'm dying.
Right.
She'll be alone. Like, I won't have anyone.
And then the love and thunder says.
And then, Jane says she won't be alone. She kind of looks at Thor, and, like, as if to say, like, she won't be alone. Right.
Right.
So, and Gore lays down, does his wish, and then
got a really
very cool
shot.
I missed.
Yeah, I
this.
did get that the first time. So essentially, how this works, and that Gore's daughter comes back, but Gore's daughter is essentially, so she's Love from the comics, which is another cosmic entity. So it's basically a piece of eternity is now used to bring her back. So she's herself is a god.
Yeah, she's imbued with the powers of eternity.
Right.
And there's this really cool shot of her as a reflection as eternity.
Because eternity itself, like, the look is, it's like
looks
a silhouette.
It looks like a galaxy.
Right.
Looks like space.
Right.
In like a silhouette form.
Right.
So you see this girl with like glowing white eyes, and then it pans up, and it's her.
Mm-hmm.
As Gore lays there, and Gore's like, "My daughter, you've returned to me. Thank the gods." Ironically enough. And Thor's holding Jane, and Jane's like, they part ways, and Jane's like, "Hey, like I finally found my catchphrase." She whispers it to him. We don't know what she says.
I think they're going to hold that for, like, possibly, like, I was thinking about it. I think they're going to hold that for a while until, like, a Secret Wars or something, like, and he's going to say it to whoever he's trying to fight, and it's just going to be, like, because, again, it does play back to this movie, but it does play back to, like, what regained him his powers in Thor 1. Like, it is her.
Yeah. And he laughs, and he's like, "It's great. It's the best one yet."
Mm-hmm.
And then she's like, "Never keep your heart open,"
Yep.
is what she tells him. And then she fades away into dust because she is a god.
Right.
At this, she does have the powers of a god, so she fades away and she dies.
Mm-hmm.
And Thor's there, and Gore looks at him, and he's like, protect my daughter."
Mm-hmm.
And then Gore dies.
Right.
And then Thor gives Gore the,
Yep.
"I got you, man. I got you, bro."
Mm-hmm.
And then we fade to black, and we cut back to New Asgard, and then Korg is back to the monologue, telling the story of the mighty Thor,
Right.
of Jane Foster,
Right.
and everything that she did to save the universe. And then, well, we see the kids, reunited with their families, and then
Korg's got his own man now. Dwayne the Rock Korg.
Oh, that's so good.
It is good. It is good.
And then, so we come back, and Thor is a dad.
Mm-hmm.
He's raising, just wonderfully played by Chris Hemsworth's own daughter.
India Hemsworth, yeah. I called it. Yeah. I knew he was going to get a kid by the end of this.
It's a really cute sequence with the two of them. And he's like, "I made you pancakes.
I made you pan flaps from Earth.
And she's like, "I don't like pan flaps." And he's like, "You love them. They're great."
Yeah, and then he's just like, "Do you got your boots?" She's just like, "Nope, I got my fuzzy slippers."
He put your boots on, and they have like a father-daughter spat. Mm. She shoots a laser beam through the pan, and he's like, "Great, new pan, you ruined it."
Yeah. But then and I thought about it as we were talking, and now here that we're here, I think Thor might have the best arc in the MCU up until this point, because, like I said before, when we first saw Thor, he was this
arrogant,
bombastically, arrogant god or prince of Asgard that I
loved to fight.
He didn't understand the implications of anything, but all these things that he's dealt with, all this loss that he's had to deal with, kind of forged him into the man he is today, or the god he is today.
Now he's a father.
And he's just like, he's teaching her the life lessons like that she needs to know, like that he did learn from Jane. Like, you need to, like, you see those people? Yeah, protect the weak. You see those people? Like, those are who we're going to protect. And then they go out, and she's a god, so she's got power. She's wielding Stormbreaker. Mjolnir's back in his possession, so essentially he has both. So they're there. Sweet Child of Mine blares. Shout out Guns N' Roses.
Yep. They're Love and Thunder.
Yep.
That's the Love and Thunder and Love and Thunder.
Yeah.
Like I said, from that sequence from when they arrive in the Shadow Realm to the very end of the movie, this movie was a 9 out of 10 for me. I think that last 40-50 minutes is really, really, really great. And I know a lot of people are going to be colored by the beginning of the movie and not liking certain aspects, but I can't imagine people can look at that third act and not think it's great. Like, truly, it's truly, truly special in my eyes. And just right up until the ending with him and Love.
What's with these epilogues being just some of my favorite portions? Like, I was thinking about Spider-Man No Way Home. It's got possibly my favorite epilogue in the entire MCU. It's just so emotionally, gravitating and sets up the future. Same thing with this. It's his new status quo. And I told you, like, keep him alive get him to the point where he's like old man Thor, like King Thor, just Rune King Thor, just sitting in like the cracked palace of Asgard, just, just living his life. Like, now he's got his daughter, like, he could raise her. Like, I think that's a really fitting place for him to go. And then launching into the post-credit scene, like, what they're going to need to contend with Thor himself, because essentially, just even not talking about Marvel, just talking about mythology, like, the two sons, like, these are the two sons of the big elder gods that people know. So,
so let's talk about it. So post-credit scene numero uno.
Yep.
Russell Crowe, he survives. Zeus survives.
Yeah. Because it's Zeus.
Yeah.
And it's Russell Crowe.
Yeah. So he's like, ooh, that
Thor.
That Thor. I would have gotten away with that orgy if it wasn't for Thor and his crew.
If it wasn't for Thor and the Revengers, I would have gotten away with this. And he's just like, and he's speaking, but like you can tell, like he's
more serious.
Yeah, he's more serious. And I absolutely, and you talk about the broader MCU, I absolutely love this line, and I kind of made it like a meta thing. Like, if you got to understand, like, I can't remember who made this point, but like, well, not because you're not old, but like people before, like their lore was like, these Greek gods, these Norse gods, like that was like the myth and legend that they were pulling from. But like essentially nowadays, like our myth and legend and like our stories are coming from superheroes. That's where they stem from. And like Zeus kind of plays into that. Like he says, like people used to look to the skies and like pray to us. But
for
now
rain, for weather, for good weather, for good fortune.
But now they look to the skies and they want superheroes now. That's what they want.
And like, we'll see how much they like superheroes once Thor Odinson falls from the sky.
And then the camera pan, he's like, "Do you understand me, my son?" And we see Ted Lasso's own Brett Goldstein as Hercules.
Good choice.
Oh, real good choice. That is a really good choice. And he's like, "Yes, father. Not you, father. You, father." Oh, great choice.
He's got his big mace.
Yeah, he's got the mace, which is made out of, it's not adamantium.
Adamantine?
Yeah, or something like, it's a strong thing.
It's a strong
thing. Comic Hercules is an issue, is a problem. He's like, it's funny because like people complain about like the status of Thor, like how he's like so much different and he's like a jokester now. I'm like, that's what Hercules was to Thor before. Like Hercules was the one that was like that. So it's going to be real interesting to see.
Yeah, so this is Thor's, you talked about Gore being possibly Thor's greatest adversary, but Hercules, in terms of raw power, is Thor's greatest adversary.
Yeah.
I mean, even when you look at going to the Civil War comic where there's a Thor clone that is just tearing through the anti-registration team.
Reed Richards, you piece of crap.
And Hercules shows up and just dismantles because he's like, you're not the real Thor Odinson.
Right.
Like, you're not my rival.
Right.
Like, that's who Hercules is.
Yeah,
he's Thor's rival.
We're going to get the mirror. Finally, we're going to get the mirror of Thor. We haven't gotten that yet. We haven't got Thor's mirror yet. Yeah. Essentially, they were trying to do it with Hela a little bit, but that was a little bit different. But this is going to be... I can't wait for Thor... Essentially, they're going to do a Thor 5.
Thor will return. They play that at the end of the second post-credit scene, that Thor will return.
I thought about that for a little bit, and we'll get into that when we talk about the second post-credit scene, but yeah, I can't wait to see what this... Because you don't just get Brett Goldstein off the back of his most famous performance of, like the pedestal that he's now on. Like, he's going to be an Avenger at some point. Like, this is... I talked about the Avengers are forming, like, big time. Like, it's all starting to come together a little bit.
So now we're going to see... We've seen Thor deal with his kind of emotional rival in Loki. We've seen kind of the familial rival in Hela.
Right.
We've seen the kind of...
I want to say for Malekith, it's more of like the universe, like it's like an in-universe, like
we've seen
the realm type of villain he's dealt with.
We've seen the philosophical rival now with Gore, and now we're going to see his physical rival.
Yeah, his mirror. Some would say he's the reverse.
Yeah, we've seen, and it's weird that we haven't gotten that with Thor yet, considering we've gotten it with pretty much everybody else. Like Iron Man fought Ironmonger, he fought Whiplash.
Yeah, Captain America fought Bucky, which is
Black Panther fought Killmonger. Ant-Man fought Yellow Jacket.
Right.
Like we've seen so many of these movies use this.
Right, now it's Thor's turn. But it's going to be a little bit more interesting because because what I think it's going to I had a little theory. My little theory is that Hercules might fall in love with Thor. I think that would be kind of funny and cool. Like, that would be an interesting take to be like, Hercules goes. It's like, actually, Pops, I kind of like this guy.
Yeah.
And Thor's like, my love of my life just died, my friend.
Yeah. So
but yeah.
Hercules and Thor.
What a casting. That's a really good casting for Hercules, yeah.
Yeah. We did discuss this before the movie came out. We did feel like Hercules was going to appear in a post-credit scene. That something would happen to Zeus.
I went 2 for 2. I called the Hercules thing. I didn't think it was going to be Henry Cavill, but I dreamed. And I did call that Thor would get a kid by the end of this. He would have a child by the end of this.
Yeah.
You need to find that.
So Hercules is colliding with Thor. And then we get to the second post-credit scene where Jane Foster arrives in Valhalla.
She made it.
Yep.
She made the list.
Yep. She's greeting.
Heimdall grabbed a clipboard and said, Jane Foster, you're on the list.
Yeah, she's greeted by Heimdall. Idris Elba is back.
Yeah, he tells her, thank you for protecting my son.
He's like, so, see, you're dead now.
Yeah. She's like, yep.
Heimdall went from, I guess, protecting the gates of Asgard to protecting the gates of Valhalla.
Right. And I do think I think that's important that they did that. I do think we're going to see Natalie Portman again as Jane Foster. I think she's going to, to some capacity, I don't know when this is going to happen. I don't even think this is going to happen in Thor 5. I do think they're going to wait on this for a while. I do think she's going to be back. And I think that's the reason why we got this specific post-credit scene, because he's talking about the gates of Valhalla. We don't see her walk up to it or anything like that. Like, I could see her being brought back, or possibly Heimdall as well.
Yeah.
Right.
So, don't know what Anthony Hopkins is up to, but
I thought about that with the whole Zeus thing. Like, what if there's like a flashback in Thor 5 with like Odin and Zeus, and like, hey, meet my son, and they're like, meet
my son.
Yeah. And they talk for a bit. Children talk for a bit.
Meet my daughter. Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Wait! Don't do that. She's not supposed to exist right now. She's been banished. No, I hope Odin just pulls up and just like, yeah. He's like, how's everything been going, Odin? He's just like, I just had to banish my daughter. That wasn't cool. But don't tell Thor that though. They don't know. Loki's just there, just being a menace.
So that's Thor: Love and Thunder.
Yeah, it's a movie.
It's a movie. It's a movie that I really enjoyed. Like I said, that second half is among the best.
Yeah.
It has. I guess it's one of those things. I guess if you want to boil it down, it can have some dull, kind of low moments, but then that second half is the highest of highs. I don't think it gets much better than what that second half of that movie gave us in terms of just emotion, in terms of action, just everything. That second half of that movie to me really, really raised it up for me personally. I understand it's not everyone's cup of tea.
Yeah.
But for me personally, I really, really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I mean, I was like in the lore in that movie. I said in the non-spoiler, I couldn't wait to talk about like the implications and like kind of like what this just injected into the rest of the MCU. I told you when we were walking out of the theater for the first time, I was like, can you believe we started with a guy in an iron suit and we're just to the point where we're doing things like Eternity and like Zeus and Hercules versus Thor, who's got Zeus's thunderbolt. Like, look how far we've come. There were just two Celestials just there.
Yeah, when we always thought, when we saw Guardians 1 and we saw like the silhouette of the Celestials, and we're like, whoa. What? Now the Celestials are just around.
And we're just like, cool.
Yeah, we have Airsham now.
Yeah, we have Khonshu. Like, we're getting every dark corner of the MCU that didn't have light is finally gaining some light. And this is what Phase 4 is. It's the lived-in version of Phase 1.
Yeah.
That's exactly what this is.
Perfect way to say it.
So I can't wait to see what this future holds. Our next Marvel project will be She-Hulk. By the time you're listening to this, we're going to know exactly what Miss Marvel's, trek into the Marvels will be. She'll get her resolution for her own show. And the next...
Which has been really good.
Right, yeah. And we'll talk about it next 2 weeks from now.
No, next week.
Right, because the time you're going to be listening to this... It's going to be, next week from the time you'll be listening to this, we'll be talking Miss Marvel. I think a week after that, we're going to talk some boys and we're going to talk some Umbrella. We're going to talk the other superhero stuff that's not Marvel or DC.
Yeah.
They've been doing some good things.
Yes, absolutely.
But yeah, this movie really, brought the love. It was a nice rom-com.
Yeah, it was a nice rom-com. It was, like I said, I really enjoyed the action for the most part. Every action sequence was pretty good.
Yeah, especially the Shadow Realm sequence.
The Shadow Realm fight is really
like I said,
good.
That felt to me like a comic book brought to life.
Yeah. Go back and watch, if you haven't seen the movie yet, pay attention to that scene in particular. But besides that, what was I going to say? Oh, and then the next film, obviously, in November is Black Panther.
Wakanda Forever. I don't think I'm emotionally ready for that. I still, in the entirety, have not watched Black Panther since the tragic passing of Chadwick Boseman. I still haven't watched it. I don't think I'm going to be able to until before that movie comes out. Yeah,
it's going to be really, really interesting to see what that movie looks like and how it makes people feel.
Right.
I think it's going to be... I don't know what to expect from it. I think we're going to find out more in a couple weeks, I think. Like I said, I do think we're going to get a full trailer from... out of Comic-Con. I think we're going to get a Wakanda Forever trailer.
Right.
And I don't know.
The trek of the MCU is real. Like, the train's about to leave the station. That's a great term to use, just having watched Miss Marvel. But, no, I do think that we're about to get to ignition. And we don't even, these Fox properties haven't even hit the ground. And this is where we're at right now. So, yeah, all leading to a Secret Wars. Bring Ben Affleck back as Daredevil for Secret Wars. Bring the 1990 Captain America back for Secret Wars. Bring Eric Bana back for Secret Wars. Maybe we'll do a Secret Wars episode, because I've started rereading that. I always go to the well, because I am of the accord that is one of the greatest stories ever told, is the Avengers and New Avengers leading into Secret Wars. It's like some of just the best prolonged storytelling ever done by Jonathan Hickman in any form of media. It's absolutely incredible. Like the crafting of like the end of the world and like how complex it can be. Like maybe we'll do a Secret War talk one day. In the future. That would be fun, and kind of predict. Maybe we'll do this after Comic-Con. We'll kind of, if they say that Secret Wars is going to be the last thing, maybe we talk about it.
Yeah.
And I can talk about...
There's still so many projects.
Right. I can talk about one of the greatest moments in comics with Thor and Hyperion, where they take on the Beyonders.
Yeah, there's still so many projects. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That are in the works.
We're getting an Agatha Harkness show.
Agatha Harkness. Echo, we're getting, Black Panther, we're getting Guardians 3, which I'm assuming is going to have even more cosmic implications.
Right. And we knew all this before these Phase 4 movies came out, so obviously we're going to get an Eternals 2, we're going to get the new trilogy for Tom Holland's Spider-Man, presumably, which... it's going to introduce Miles Morales. I think that's what the end goal is trying to get him to be, the future MCU Spider-Man. We're going to get another Doctor Strange. Now we know we're going to get another Thor movie. Like so many things. Yep.
Midnight Suns.
Midnight Suns. Yeah. We don't even know what's happening with Dane Whitman and Mahershala Ali's playing Blade.
Yeah. There's so much happening still.
We haven't even gotten to the Secret Invasion is still going to happen.
Secret Invasion, which we have seen possible that Chloe Bennett could be coming back for Secret Invasion.
Apparently Secret Invasion essentially is going to be like the MCU TV crossover, just like the Avengers was for the movies, because I've been hearing that they're like Captain Marvel's going to be in it and Anthony Mackie or Captain America's going to be in it. Like I do think that it's just going to they're just massing that as a front to be like, we couldn't do it for the movies because we already had what we were going to do, so we're going to do it for the TV.
Yeah.
Who's a Skrull?
Who's a Skrull? I don't know.
Hawkeye could be... No. Mm-mm.
Who's a Skrull?
Who's a Skrull? Because what do you think the Marvels is going to be? I think the Marvels is going to be the Kree Skrull War. I guess, well, we're going to know... I think we're going to find out Wednesday, because I think this all is kind of, this all leans on the fact that is what's happening, like, is it Terrigenesis or not?
Yeah.
That singular thing might either reveal the plot of the Marvels or derail, like, what I think the plot's going to be.
Yeah.
Because I think what the Marvels is going to be is the Kree Skrull War. So, yeah.
We're going to find out Wednesday.
Yeah, we will. Is Captain Marvel going to be in the last episode of Miss Marvel?
Don't do this.
Nope, because I don't think she is. But if she was...
Don't Benedict Cumberbatch this.
Hey, man, I don't know. We'll see.
I would put money... Not put money, but I would bet that... Monica would show up before Captain Marvel. Yeah,
because she is like presumably the leader of S.W.O.R.D. I guarantee you she's probably going to be like the head of S.W.O.R.D. at this point.
Yeah, because I could see her showing
Tyler
up.
Hayward's a bad guy.
Real bad guy.
Yeah, real bad guy.
I could see her showing up before I could see Captain Marvel showing up. So
right, the bangle,
and
the 10 rings.
And the 10 rings.
Are they related? They cousins?
Because they're both jewelry?
glowing jewelry from space. Yeah, that Shang-Chi, because I just watched Shang-Chi 2 days ago, that Shang-Chi post-credit scene really got me thinking.
It's super interesting.
Yeah, it is really, because like, where did this, and then Miss Marvel on top of that.
Where did you get the Star Destroyers?
I just, why on God's green earth would you bring Palpatine back? All right, fine. How there was thousands of it was like how many years took place in between 6 and 7? It was like what, 20 years or something, or 6 and 9? Where did he get all the Star Destroyers from? You know, the labor. Nobody in space was like, hey, we just did an order for 1,000 Star Destroyers to a dark corner of the universe. Don't ask any questions. Why didn't they make Finn a Jedi? Why didn't that happen? What did he do to deserve this?
Glad I could get him riled up again.
You can't see it, but my head's in my hands. So just make him a Jedi. What did he do? He didn't do anything. They had the perfect tea. He had the lightsaber and all the promotional stuff, and then he's not a Jedi. They just had him scream right for 3 movies.
Oh man, I love it. All right, we gotta get out of here before things get out of hand.
Things just got out of hand. You know what else got out of hand? When Palpatine returned.
Somehow
Palpatine returned. Somehow Thor returned.
Oh man, this is my vow.
You think that Hercules is going to get his own show before they do this Thor movie?
Nah.
Because Brett Goldstein's a really good get. That's a really good get.
Yeah, nah, I don't think so. I think they're just going to use him for the movie.
We're going to get like 6 movies a year at this point. How are they going to fit all this into a thing? We haven't even hit the X-Men yet.
I don't know.
I love the fact that Secret Wars is just Reed Richards and Doctor Doom hate each other. Like, the entirety of the universe ending is encompassing on, like, them just not being friends. And, like, that's what we're probably going to lead into.
It's the reverse of Princess Leia and Han Solo. I hate you.
I know. Cillian Murphy for Doctor Doom, July 23rd, 2022. Because that's when Comic-Con is.
That cast, if they do reveal that cast, it's going to be an interesting day.
On Twitter's going to explode.
It's going to be an interesting day online with all the people that love it, with all the people that hate it.
I mean, before we leave, last chance. Who's your Fantastic Four fan cast? Including Doctor Doom.
Oh, Jesus. I don't know. I don't have all of them kitted out quite yet, but for some reason I want to see Lucas Till as Johnny Storm.
Okay.
I don't know why, but I feel like he could do it.
Mm-hmm.
Do I want to see Krasinski come back? I think I want to see Krasinski come back if that's possible.
Yeah, me too.
I want to see him as a different version of Reed Richards.
That's the thing that I keep saying is people were so... I was like, that's not Earth... That's not 616 or...
I want to see him as entry-level Reed Richards.
Right.
At the beginning of his arc as Reed Richards.
Right.
As like the scientific genius who stumbles into an accident.
Do we have a director for Fantastic Four? Or not yet still?
No, they took John Watts left, but I don't think they replaced him yet.
Because John Krasinski's going to direct it. I mean, he does understand family dynamics.
We could see a director reveal.
Yeah, because what would be cool is if they do the director reveal and then the director. You know what would be funny if they're like, director reveal, it's John Krasinski, and John Krasinski walks out and then he walks back in. He's like, he's playing Reed Richards. I
think that if they do that, I think it would be a director reveal. I think it would just be the 4. I don't think they would reveal Doom.
No, me neither. But that just unless they know that Doom's gonna, because everybody knows that Doom is like the central piece to.
I see your Cillian Murphy, but Michael Fassbender though.
Oh my god, he was just. I feel like just a deformed Cillian Murphy, like just an angry all the time. But it's just because he can play smart. That's what I think it is. He can play like genius level.
What are you trying to say about Michael Fassbender?
He moves he moves metal with his mind.
Get out of my head, Charles. James McAvoy for Reed Richards.
Yeah.
And Fassbender is Doctor Doom. Run it back.
No, run it back. Make them the MCU's Professor X, and yeah, just do that.
Run it back.
But who do you got for the other 3? We got to get out of here, man.
Ben Grimm. I'm thinking, what about, what's his name?
I know exactly who I got for Ben Grimm.
What about, what's his name?
Are you going to say the same person as me?
No. I was going to say Alan Richmond?
Oh, the guy from that plays Hawk in Titans. That's
Ben Grimm.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Is he too young for John Krasinski?
No, how old is that guy?
I know they're like closer in age, but he's always played younger. That's what I keep thinking about.
He's what is he in now?
He's in Jack
Reacher?
One of the Jacks.
Jack Archer?
Yeah.
Jack Reacher?
Jack Reacher. Jack Prayer, whatever.
Alan Richardson.
Yeah.
Not Alan Rickman. Oh man, Alan Rickman is Ben Grimm.
Alan Rickman as Reed Richards.
He's 39.
Yeah, he just always has played like the high school trope. That's why, or college.
Yeah, he's 39.
Right. That's cool. I didn't. That's actually a pretty cool one. Yeah. I can see him as like the protector of the group and getting that at Johnny. Speaking of, who do you think should play Johnny, and why is it Dacre Montgomery?
I said Lucas Till already.
Lucas Till's also super old.
How old is Lucas Till?
He's in his 30s, I'm pretty sure now. Because we thought about this like 5 to 10 years ago.
He's 31.
Is he not in his 30s?
I'm 31.
Age reveal.
What are you trying to say?
Age reveal.
What are you trying to say? That I can't be young?
You can't play Johnny Storm. You can play Captain America, though.
Oh, man. I'm not okay with this. I'm not okay with this ageism.
There's no ageism. I'm just saying. Johnny Storm's got to be like close to like Tom Holland age.
Does he?
Yeah. Just a little older.
So we want like a 26-year-old guy?
Somewhere around there. I mean, I know who I want.
What's the difference between a 26-year-old guy and a 31-year-old guy?
5 years. That's the amount of time that people were snapped away from existence.
Yeah, look, it did wonders for what's his name? From Spider-Man No Way Home.
Yeah, true.
What was that guy's name?
Who are you talking
Not No Way Home. Far From Home.
Oh.
His freaking... Brett, yeah.
Yeah, all the homies hate Brett.
That guy was okay. I don't know who I want to play Sue Storm, though.
Emily Blunt. There's no...
I guess. If you get Krasinski, I guess they're like a...
they're a package deal?
Package deal.
Yeah. Well, that's my read into... who did I say from Outer Banks? That's my Johnny Storm. I don't know why I'm predicating so much of Johnny Storm of how they would play off of Tom Holland. Because they're kind of friends in the comics. Like, I think that would be kind of fun. But, yeah, that's who, the blonde kid from Outer Banks, I think he would be a great little brother. It would be a great time.
That'd be pretty good.
Yeah. And I don't know why I'm blanking on his name. Because he played Uncle Owen in The Mandalorian. And then, Obi-Wan.
Joel Kinnaman?
Yeah, no.
No, not Joel Kinnaman.
Joel Kinnaman.
Joel Edgerton.
Joel Kinnaman. What a joke. Yeah, I think Joel Edgerton would be the perfect Ben Grimm. Because he's got that, like, outsider stoicness to him. That I think that would play really well against John Krasinski. Like, I could get the feeling that they've been friends for a while. Like, I think it would be, like, a really fun dynamic between the two of them. And then, obviously, Cillian Murphy as Doctor Doom. There it is. Liam Neeson as Galactus.
Liam Neeson?
Yeah, Liam Neeson as Galactus.
Wow.
I had somebody as Silver Surfer. Oh, I can't remember who it was.
Ewan McGregor.
Nope. Nope. Hayden Christensen.
He gets there, Galactus is like, well.
He gets the hello there.
Took you long enough.
Hello there.
I was always there, Silver Surfer. You just were not ready to see.
I was thinking about a Silver Surfer movie. You know, I really did like what Chloe Zhao did with the Eternals. Chloe Zhao on a Silver Surfer movie would be absolutely insane because she would have just do what she did with Nomadland, but with Silver Surfer because that's what he does. The guy that did Ad Astra would probably, or James Gray, I think is his name. That would be a really good director to have on a Silver Surfer movie. Like, just have him just contemplate in space. Just sit on his board and look at like event horizons. Like, that's Silver Surfer. Have some fun. Bring Thanos back.
Josh Brolin as Ben Grimm.
Josh Brolin as Reed Richards.
All right.
Yeah, we got to get out of here.
On that note.
Yeah. What's your...
Michael Chiklis.
Yeah.
Bring Michael Chiklis back.
Michael Chiklis, that's it. That's the only OG cast that's coming back. You got any big Marvel thing that you want to come out of this Comic-Con? Or, like, what's your one thing that you want to see for this next X amount of phases?
I'm curious. I'm a child of the 90s, so I want to see what they're showing off with this X-Men animated series. Mm-hmm. Because it is, technically the first MCU X-Men thing that we're getting, and it's a continuation of the X-Men animated series, so I'm real excited by the prospect of that. And it's because, especially since it's one of the projects that I didn't know was coming until it was announced, and I was like, whoa! Mm-hmm. Like, wow, they're doing this.
Yeah.
So I think that's really cool. I'm excited to see more from that.
Yeah.
Whatever they show off.
I think we're going to get a crowd stopper, because if this is going to be a mega panel, they're calling it, like, I think we're going to get the new Avengers team on that team just real quick, and then we can leave, because this rant's been going. You got me going with the Star Destroyers. Captain America.
Yep.
Captain Marvel.
Yep.
Ant-Man, Wasp.
Morbius.
Nope. Miss Marvel. And She-Hulk. That's the team we know.
So you think Ms. Marvel is going to be like Avenger
Yeah,
proper?
I think she's going to be an Avenger. So we got the 6. Hawkeye's done. I don't think Hawkeye's coming back. And I think Kate Bishop's going to be part of the Young Avengers. That's a completely new team. I think we're going to get Black Knight and Cersei are going to be a package deal because that's how it goes down in the comics. So they're going to be on that team. We're going to get Hercules on that team. I think Thor will come back to be with them. Who else do we got? I think that was my big team. That was it. I think I'm missing somebody from that, but I'm pretty sure that was it. Not Moon Knight. What other shows have we gotten? Vision's gone. Vision's not gone, but Wanda's gone. Yeah, I think that's what the team's looking like. Doctor Strange is still probably going to be around.
Well, Doctor Strange is going to the Dark Dimension.
He'll be back. It's like a run to the grocery store. He'll be back. He's got Charlize Theron with her. Wong? Nope.
What?
No, Wong's got bigger fish to fry. He's the Sorcerer Supreme, for God's sake.
But he's got the round table.
Yeah.
The Avengers kind of round table.
You know what? Nope, bring Wong back. Wong's new Nick Fury. I absolutely love that idea. We're going to get Photon / Spectrum, whatever you want to call Monica Rambeau. She'll be on that team. I think Hulk will be back, too. It'll be the both of them. It'll be Hulk and She-Hulk will be on that team. But Hulk will be probably more of like a step-back advisor type of thing versus a straight-up going into, like, fights.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what the new Avengers are probably going to look like. Like, I think it was fitting, like, Hercules is there. We got that whole Avengers cruise thing, so, yeah.
They're getting ready.
Oh, Shang-Chi. That's who I was missing. Shang-Chi is going to be on that team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're getting ready. They're getting ready to show us.
The new Avengers and what the threat's going to be. That's going to be a really interesting question to ask. Who's the next, like... Because I don't think they're going to do Kang out of the gate. No. Unless they do Kang out of the gate, and then they do the Secret Wars with Doctor Doom and Reed Richards to give them... a little bit of room to breathe. So, that's like, possible. Kang's like the fake big Thanos bad, and they're like, if you thought Thanos and him were bad, boom, you looking for this? Here's Doctor Doom, who just ended the entire multiverse. I love talking Marvel.
Yeah, fun times are ahead.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Despite what people on Twitter might think.
The naysayers.
Despite what people on Twitter might think, it's going to be a very fun next few years. But that's going to do it for us. So... You can follow us on Twitter at ProjectINF_pod. You can follow us on Facebook. New episodes there every Wednesday, or like the special non-spoiler edition that we did on
Thor. They
can
pop up anywhere.
They can just pop up anytime. Yeah. You'd be like, surprise. Here's the thing that we did. So that's always possible. You can follow us on Instagram.
At the Project Infinite Pod.
Thank you very much. And next week, we're going to recap and review Ms. Marvel, a show that we both are really enjoying. As I said, it's the most probably consistent out of all the Disney Plus shows that we've gotten.
For me, it's this and Loki have been my two favorite shows.
Yeah, this is incredibly well paced. Tremendous cast.
Yeah.
Tremendous story.
Yeah, that's my favorite part. This story is so investing, and it's emotionally investing over like the action investment. It's really telling when you're able to do that. I think Loki did that pretty well too, of having like not straight up action sequences, but having like this overarching big, cosmic journey. So yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be fun. I'm really excited to see how this finale turns out.
I hope they land it.
Yeah.
I hope they land it.
Me too, because episodes 1 through 5 have all been really great.
I agree.
So hopefully the ending is just as great, if not better, and sets us up for what Kamala Khan will be up to in the future, which I'm really looking forward to. And until then, we will see you next week from me, from the...
Careful.
We'll have to be careful about here. Oh, I wasn't going to say that. The core of the podcast.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it.
That's it. That's the whole bit.
We're gonna go sign off and do some Star Destroyer research.
Yeah, because just the logistics is really what's getting to me.
All right, guys. We'll see you next week for Ms. Marvel. Goodbye.
Peace.